Hello, my fellow series joiners, and welcome to a later edition of Namaste Today Live. And we are live. We've landed successfully on the moon of Endor, as you can see, broadcasting from a strange hotel somewhere unknown. But I will tell you this. We have something called the Frequency Wars, as the P calls it, or I call it the Independence and Sovereignty Act, coming up. All that and more. It's the start of Libra. Keep streaming. Hello and welcome to Namaste Today Live. I'm your host, Sensei Christopher Witecki, streaming live to you across the world. We are here in a new date and time for this particular reason. We had some issues on Friday, but we have a lot to talk to you about today. We are streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and X.com, and Instagram at the same time. We call this a super broadcast, and we also have what we call a super chat. So if you're in the chat room and you made it till Sunday, first of all, bless you. Thank you for coming and supporting us in this particular moment. Please say hi and tell us where you're coming from and maybe your sign, and say hello to the crew. Let's say hello to a few of our people here. Erica, thank you for coming. Daryl Blankenship, did you know I'm out in Palm Springs? Haven't seen you yet. Need to, hello. I need you to call me Need to. Iggy, how's it going, man? I got your messages. Jill Louise, thank you for always supporting us. Hello, Andrea. Hello, Anna. Hello, Danica. That's a cool name. Sarah Larock, always liking you. Love. I know, love. That's cool. Sherry, Cam 2. I'd love to hear from Cam 3. Trish Jordan, hello. Miss Annie, hello. And one more for the books. Misty Honey. Ooh, Misty Honey sounds yummy in my tummy. I don't know where to take that. I was talking about honey, my tea. Well, folks, things are a little intense right now in the sense that we're over a rocky bump of some karmic issues. Today, we're not going to have our Astro Mingle segment. It's going to be moved to another day. But I did not want to go 1 week without being on the air for you. That's because we have some important things coming up, namely some turbulence in our spiritual skies. I'll have all that. We'll talk about what the sun moving into Libra is going to mean, which is in the next 24 hours. And also, of course, we have your zodiac weather and horoscopes for all 12 signs after this. But first, let's take a look at the week's moods and your zodiac weather.
This zodiac weather is from Saturday, September 21st to Friday, September 27th, 2024. Looking ahead at your weekend forecast, it's a wrap-up of the Virgo season in a dramatic way, and we enter into Libra for the first time with the new soul contract. Let's drill down. On Saturday, it's sunny and charged. Step 29 means it's the final Grandmaster degree of Virgo. Anything that you've learned in this transit may be tested in this 24-hour period. At the same time, you may also come into a healing. Things may reorganize at the last minute. But most importantly, you will become alchemized and be emotionally investing in the next chapter. Plus, Mercury squares Jupiter, reconciling thoughts with beliefs. On Sunday, it's cloudy and rather quiet. Step 0 rules the day, which means protection is the game. We now transition when the sun moves into Libra, kickstarting a new mirage that is karma-free. But the day may feel off because early in the morning, the sun trine Pluto at 29 degrees Capricorn. So you may have had some dreams that challenged your authority. Moving ahead to the 5-day week forecast, over the course of the week, we really enter into the first degrees of Libra, where you sort from the old mirage and the new mirage. On Monday, it's sunny and chirping. Step 1 means the sun rules the day. I receive love is the mantra, feeling emotionally authentic, and the moon in Gemini is ready to articulate what you feel. On Tuesday, it's partly cloudy and stirred. Step 2 means emotions rule the day, and emotions do shift from the moon in Gemini to the moon in Cancer. It's time to receive empathy from yourself, and this is when the story starts to get fun. Now with Mercury trining Uranus, you may have some changes to what you want to manifest. On Wednesday, it's sunny and juicy. Step 3 indicates Jupiter rules the day. You will receive a theory about life and be choosing over taking the facts for what they are. And Mercury opposes Neptune, which may mean that the day might be somewhat delusional. On Thursday, sunny and tender is our prediction. Step 4 means Uranus rules the day. Expect the unexpected, potential breakdowns and breakthroughs. What you are receiving is a wake-up call, and shocking truths are being revealed. The moon shifts from Cancer to Leo, making everything be taken to the heart, and Mercury moves out of Virgo and into Libra, which means now both your mind and your heart are on a teeter-totter. And then on Friday, it's sunny and creative. Step 5 means that Mercury rules the day. This is a day where you will receive clarity and be able to raise the emotional stakes. And since the moon is in Leo, it's your heart that's going to cash that check.
It's serious joy.
Hello. This week we have pushed our sponsor to the next week, so we will say that Serious Joy is the official sponsor of Namaste Today Live. We're so grateful for our mothership investing in the show for probably over 10 years straight. Thank you to everyone on my staff at Serious Joy and, of course, my business partner, Eben. And if you want to support us and the free content we put out week after week, you can come and join SeriousJoy.com for just $3.99. This is a great time because we are preparing for the great change. Now, given that said, we're not going to be doing a Astro Mingle, as I mentioned. We're going to move that guest to another time. So let's take a look at the week's planets and transits. Oh boy, the universe has been full of a lot of choppy surprises here. We did try to go live, by the way, on Friday night, although in travel, it was discovered that I'd underestimated my travel time to the hotel. Southern California just booked up in traffic, and we saw really quickly that we weren't going to be able to serve you. And this actually brings up a discussion I want to do before we dive into the planets and transits, which is just your opinion on what we should do in the future. I will tell you this for all those who are watching. As Serious Joy now moves into its 9th year as a company, and this is probably my 18th to 19th year on YouTube, we're looking to now rebrand and transform Namaste Today Live to a new topic. Basically, we're going to be focusing on, of course, astrology, but we're moving into a studio that we're building out in Palm Springs, California. We're changing our format. We're having guests in the studio, and so as Friday went down, our first question was, is Namaste Today Live, or what it's going to be called in the future, appropriate on Friday nights? Now, we do feel that we're going to continue Astro Mingle on Friday night, so we're still going to have our Friday Fun Party. We might also add a different show we have in development on Fridays to be announced. But the question in the poll goes out to those who are chatting live. Where would you like to watch and hang out with us with Namaste Today Live under its new title? I have some new ideas as well of the title. Right now, some of the lead choices would be to move to Monday nights where LOL used to be, perhaps Tuesday afternoons, but we kind of feel that we need to sort of put it near the weekend so that it is sort of ready for you to be prepared for the following week. And so right now, internally, we're sort of voting for Monday evenings, the old slot of LOL. So please, if you're in the chat, please do vote. Let us know your thoughts. If you come to the show after the live chat, then please put in the comments where you would like to see the show. Now, I have to say, this is not a democracy. I will listen to everyone, but at the end of the day, we have business choices and whatnot. So please don't be upset if your choice wasn't adhered to. The truth is, once Namaste Today Live is up, it's really available for viewing in the public. We're talking about the live show and the super chatters and when we want to hang out. Would love to hear from you. Hello. So we are in a very unique time here, and let me just dive into the big picture of things. And boy, I've been seeing it in my own organization. I've been seeing it in the people I've been encountering and working with over the weekend. Right now, we're in the very cusp of the sun in Virgo. In fact, as I'm recording this, let me just look at my live chart here. It looks like we are... Today we're at, we just gone to 0 Libra. My goodness, that's funny. We just gone to 0 Libra. Wow, how appropriate. So yeah, I'm showing 0 Libra. Is that right? Yes, indeed. It is. Okay, just to make sure. So maybe not. I don't know, something's wonky here. We're on the cusp of it. And what it comes down to is really the end of the old era and the beginning of the new. Up until this time, with the sun going into Pisces and Saturn in Pisces and Neptune in Pisces back in March. I've talked about this over and over, but I'm just saying it for those who've just joined our family and joined our community of light, that this year has been a profound year because this has been the year where you had the opportunity to opt out of certain karmic revolutions that you keep going through, where you keep going around and around the same old clock, round and round and round, repeating and repeating, and it has to do with the way you treat yourself. And I've talked about it in depth about how you treat yourself and how you respond to yourself is ultimately your decision in the reality you want to create. Well, Pisces was where we began to change the signal of that reality. And as we move through the months of here in the summer and the southern hemisphere in Australia, the winter, we were then carrying out that intention, working through our ego Aries, our values Taurus, our thoughts Gemini, which are still under construction, our feelings Cancer, our heart's true desires in Leo, and then finally for the last 30 days, what it ends up becoming. And so we have been finessing what we are going to become as a result of implementing these spiritual changes within ourselves in the last decade, which is the last 10 days from 2029 to today. We were looking at, well, what kind of future do we want to have happen? What do we want the future to become? And of course, as this has happened, you've had sort of final tests of feelings coming in with the 20 degrees and perhaps seeing that one idea may not work. Sometimes it's better in the mind, and when you try to apply it, it isn't as good. But here in the last 24 hours, from 29 to 0 Libra, this is, from what I can tell, the beginning of the new era. So I believe that, this is the new era. And I believe it begins on 0 Libra. And I believe it begins today. Of course, it's like, when is the age of Aquarius? I mean, astrologers can argue till they're blue in the face at when the age of Aquarius begins. And I'm sure we'll argue about when the new era begins. But, I'm going to put my vote in the ring of astrologers and other mystics that it's today. It's in this next 24 hours. Why is that? It's because in the new era, equality is supreme, which is Libra. Equality is supreme. The God universe created an environment, for instance, the earth, that if not touched with and meddled with, it seeks natural harmony, right? Everything comes to a natural harmony. If I drop some blue eyedropper into water, it will naturally want to mix and harmonize with the water. This is the nature of the universe. It's the nature of the matrix, is to find a balance between two things. What is it that overtakes that balance? Well, it is the human ego, the opposite of Libra. The human ego will push for the I versus the we. And so as a result, and we're talking as a result of 26,000 years since Atlantis, the I has overwhelmed the we. The I has become more important than the we. And certain I's, of course, are giving us headaches, right? Because of Aries, making us sort of second guess if we should be here to do this at all. I believe that what we are entering into in this period, and this is according to several resources that I have, but one of the most important resources is Wendy Kennedy and the Palladians, who I had the chance to interview a couple weeks ago, who represents the Palladians. I also are interviewing other galactic influencers. I'm also interviewing, for instance, we have a great person on our staff who can speak to Mary, Jesus's wife, Mary Magdalene, and so we're getting these great spiritual influencers who are talking about what this period is. That's why I know it sounds crazy, but I'll just go on record. Like, Serious Joy is in contact with some major players in heaven, and I have no doubt that we are. So I don't know. It's a hard one to put on the table and say we're doing better than everyone else at the moment. It's not that we want to say that we are better. It's just like, hey, when you're sourcing your information, are you getting heaven, earth, and everything else, right? But the consensus among these guardians of the earth is that earth now must go through a very delicate and uncomfortable process, which the Palladians call the frequency wars. So from the Palladian perspective, what's about to happen is the earth has got to decide what frequency is going to rule, right? What will we have frequently? Will we frequently have violence, frequently have conflict, frequently have poverty, frequently have people going without, or will we frequently have other measures? What is the frequency of the earth going to be? Now, according to Palladians and the Galactic Council of Light and all these other intergalactic organizations, it's already been determined, like as far as they're concerned, to the point of, they've been very clear that if Earth doesn't go that direction, they will intervene in a peaceful way. I don't know. We'll have to see. I don't feel like we're going to need that, though, because I feel like the Earth has brought some leaders down, such as myself and others, who are going to be strongly encouraging for this idea of equality. Now, I don't really like the term war. In fact, I feel like, the word war is inappropriate for the new era, because I think it's more of a race than a war. And so we're sort of promoting it, Serious Joy, that we're about to enter into a race. I'm calling this moment the sovereign revolution. I believe that what we're actually arguing for and racing for is for us to be sovereign. That is, for us to individually be aspects of God that can operate on our own independently in a sovereign way. So I think this is the sovereign revolution, whereas 300 years ago, when Pluto was last in Capricorn, it was the American Revolution for the idea of individual freedom. Sovereignty is different than freedom, and we have experts who will talk about that in other ways. Sovereignty has to do with the idea that you are operating completely autonomously, yet connected to everyone. We can debate till we're blue in the face on what this really is. The point is that the beginning of Libra is the beginning of that sovereignty. It's the beginning of us coming into our own state of awareness, our own state of being. And here at Serious Joy, we argue that that state of being ought to be serious joy, that your sovereign nation, your sovereign inner nation should be one of joy and happiness, so that you law of attract that sort of thing. As we now enter into Libra, we begin the actual process of the balance of our ego with our equality. Libra is the energy of being able to balance things. So the ability to, not drink too much, not eat too many, fats, not go too far in a relationship. That's all the Libra scales. And although it seems kind of counterintuitive, the control of being able to balance your life consciously comes down to your ability to open up. Okay. So first and foremost, I'll say, and I've had these discussions with team members and whatnot, and it's so funny, even my own team is stuck in the Aries position. I recently had a poll with some of my leaders here, and I was surprised to see that all my leaders stayed on the I side, not the we side, for the most part. The ones that work with us, the ones who are out there helping us. So I'm like, wow, this is really a deep, deep issue of this I versus the we. I want it this way. I think this way versus we feel, right? So as we go forward, I think the real openness is the key. So to put simply, in this first decan of Libra for the next 10 days, from 0 to 10, it's really about how open you are to yourself about change. If you are not open to change, and I have to say, because we're about to go through a complete transition to the new era, you're not going to do well. Okay. Like those who decide to be a rock on the stream, I do believe will be tumbled off to the side from the current of change happening. No one I have met ever yet I would consider a role model for the new era, including myself. I feel like we all are not there. We're just coming out of our own individual karma, where it's I. We've just come to a point of graduating our ego situation. So I don't know a single person that thinks in the we terms for the most part. They do, but they haven't applied it to the rest of their life. And they admit that. My friends who are, part of this leadership on the higher level, they fully see where their I interferes with the we. So the interesting thing is if you want to counterbalance your I, right? And I would say that would be the I as in the individual that sing from duality, then you must graduate to the term we. If we can't say we feel this and we feel that, then you are leaving someone behind, right? It's not a we. If it's an I, it's not a we. If it's an I, it stands alone. And so within yourself in these next 10 days, the real question is, am I, because this is the first decan, the I is that first 10 degrees. Do I, for instance, which is I, the person on earth, let's put it this way. Aries and Libra in the first decan is our mirage. Let me bring it back. Our mirage and how we approach ourself. So one of the things I've realized is there are two ways of looking at myself. There is the I, which is my spirit in this incarnation. I am Sensei Christopher in this incarnation. And I have this agenda, and I have these hopes, and I have these dreams, and I have these experiences that I want to have. And I would say that I am having them. I am moving down that I path and have been without any problem. The counterbalance of this in the mirage is the idea of we. Now, you may ask, what the hell? How do you apply the word we to yourself? The application of we to yourself is an ascendant perspective. If you are ascendant, then when you say we inside yourself, you are including all of your incarnations. You're saying Christopher Wotecki, the past life in France, the past life in Spain, the past life I know, all these past lives, all these incarnations of I come down to this new poly we. It's we inside me. It's we, the aspects of Christopher Wotecki. It's we, the people who have manifested Christopher Wotecki. It's we in the context of the world, but and how many lifetimes I've had, but it's also we in the context of the overall multi-lifetime spiritual arc that we have been making, all these versions of me, to help the world embrace where they need to go and to be part of the greater we on earth. In fact, interesting little concept. I had a class at USC when I was going to film school called The Design of the Good. And it was a brilliant class. I mean, some of my professors at USC were just outstanding. Some were horrible. I couldn't believe I was paying for it. So it's hit and miss with 10 years, right? But this professor was so genius, and he was talking about, branding ourselves for the future, and he wanted us to create a brand based on ourselves. My term paper, which got an A minus, like it wasn't a term paper, it was whatever the final paper was. A minus, by the way. I'm still, I'm not upset about it. I was happy with it. He was a hard grader. So was I proposed that my brand would be we. And so I went in this long dissertation, like at age, well, how old was I, 21, talking about and working out like the brand of we and how we could brand to a we from an I. So strangely enough, I've been working on this since my college years, as far as the concept of shifting our perspective, which then that perspective shift is in fact plural instead of singular. Now, another interesting fact is, since that, I have witnessed, for instance, in the LGBTQ area, this concept of they, them. LGBTQ has begun to look at this non-binary perspective, which I find so fascinating because I really truly believe that perspective is part of the new era, the idea of we. And if we want to go down the path of that, I honestly believe that when you have two genders inside of you, I believe it's because you are remembering two lifetimes where you're each gender. That's my opinion. Like, there's nothing broken, I don't feel. I feel like that was a plan. I feel like the soul wanted to be part of the we, wanted to be an influencer in the we. And so they began to we, right away and in this transition. So we already see in sexuality that we're embracing the we. And I just love that. And that we're starting to honor that we are many lifetimes. We've created many eyes, and each of the eyes becomes a we. And then at some point, as we come into this plurality meaning this perspective of multiple lifetimes within me, that I am not just Gandalf the Gray, I am Gandalf the White, I'm Gandalf the Red, I'm Gandalf the teenager who was using his magic to do naughty things. It's all that type of perspective into this incorporation. Now, one second, clear my throat. By the way, once I got to my hotel, my microphone broke, and so now I've got this airline captain a headset. So as we look at our marriage to ourself, which I lovingly call our marriage, the first thing we're going to do in the new era is we're going to get re-married with ourself. And that's what Libra is going to be at first and foremost. And the universe has put a whole bunch of landmines and different things in our way, in front of us, where we have to resolve certain issues, not with ourself, but with the way we relate to ourselves. In fact, over the course of this week, we'll move from step one tomorrow officially, which at least we are step zero. Yeah, this is going so fast. Yeah. Zero actually started to happen a little earlier, I guess. I've been so caught up in this trip, I haven't been able to stay true to the actual time in the moment. But we now go from on Monday, step one, all the way to step 5 on Friday, and then step 6 on Saturday. By the time we get to step 6 next Saturday, we will have worked with our relationship to these different states of awareness within us. So right now it's our sovereignty, step 0. How do we stand alone apart from the collective, the uniqueness of ourself? So we is inclusive. It is the I and the other, right? So the I doesn't disappear. The individual doesn't disappear in the new era. It stays, but become more paradoxical. I am Christopher Witecki, and I have been this and have been that and have been that. All these different things. They're all happening simultaneously, in multiple dimensions at the very same time. If I repair myself here in the format of we, my past life version of myself updates instantly from what I understand. I've talked to the Pleiadians about this, and I'm going to talk to other extra dimensionals about this, but your aspect of yourself updates back and forth across the timeline. So as I, for instance, I, Christopher Witecki, heal the we of, let's say, addiction, where we have fallen into addiction, and we have, by the way, alcohol and other things through the lifetimes, born of an alcoholic now in this lifetime to stamp it out once and for all. I have found many of my eyes have fallen into into giving up giving up my power with outer influence, such as booze and alcohol or heroin. I don't think I ever did the heroin thing or the morphine thing. I don't think, as a soldier. I think I always just bled out and died. But everyone has their poison they find on Earth. But overall, my point is, as the I, Christopher Witecki, heals his issues around, let's say, addiction or obsession or all of the other things I've been trying to fix, the eyes of every lifetime incarnation update, from what I understand, to now incorporate the we. So when we say we, the people, maybe we're talking about we, all the people we have been, we as in the plurality of me, right? And I also think to myself, too, just as a side note, how do we know that the homeless talking to themselves aren't talking to their past life versions of themselves? How do we know that schizophrenic or crazy people aren't actually talking to past life versions of themselves? Probably are. I think when you break that barrier, I mean, I've gotten to a minor argument with some of my past life versions, where it's come in and I could feel that part of me, that expression of the I, and then later realized I need to unify it as a we. So what's happening is that with the Earth in Aries and the Sun in Libra, the Sun in Libra is redefining our marriage to ourself. And in this mirage, yes, we do have a capital I, the Earth in Aries. We are reconstructing the capital I, this unique expression of yourself in this time space moment, right? And so I think the trick of it is to stay open, as I mentioned, to different variations of how you define the I, and also to be inclusive in your I, to include the we, to include all the incarnations that you have ever been. And the reason for this in this particular moment is because it's part of the ascension process and the process of seeing our true identity, which is that we are beyond one lifetime. We are beyond one perspective. We have tried every perspective. I just want to say, not one of you watching the show has been good your whole multi-lifetime pattern. It's actually impossible from what I understand. If you, for instance, talking to the angels, which I talk to through Devin Doer and I talk to through other aspects of my own self, the angels will tell us, like, because of the way timelines work, if you are an absolute angel on earth for like 9 lifetimes, you will end your era of angel being the devil. You will play the dark character. You'll play the one who does harm. You'll play the one who causes rift. Why is that? Because the earth wants to have negativity? No, the earth is a learning playground. And we take it way too seriously. And we take life way too seriously as well. In fact, the first thing I recommend is stop taking this one of 100 lifetimes so damn seriously. It's basically a virtual reality game up in heaven. You and I right now are having tea in heaven and we are asleep in a coma, pretending that we're down on earth. I think that's the reality. And at least that's the way I'm going to be preaching from this point, or teaching from this point. So one thing to realize is, you have an opportunity to better craft your avatar, to better craft your expression of your we into one I. But necessarily, even if you are if you've been the best soul on earth and you've always done well, chances are you might be part of the counter force, the darker force that forces the light to move forward. And all those who play the other side of that equation have been actually, serving that other purpose. So no matter how much you want to blame other eyes for the problems in your life, one must realize that the truth of reality is all of your we's are manifesting your reality, and it will go the way you want, and they will manifest their reality and go the way they want. Therefore, it's more about how you manage yourself inside yourself and how you respond inside to outer stimulus than it is what actually happens on the earth. It doesn't matter what happens or what goes down. We basically are going to evolve whether we want to or not. That was the multi-lifetime path that we signed up for. So, so going into this week, the real key is, what is going to be my relationship? All right. Now, the theme of the week is my mirage is me. Okay. And me is really in the background we. So me is a we upside down. Notice the me, you flip it upside down, it becomes a we. Okay. So me and we. Me is the latest version of the we. And in this concept of we, what is my relationship, for instance, tomorrow, step one, to my heart? What is my relationship to my heart? What am I open to when it comes to my heart? What will I open to? And I believe the appropriate response to how we manage ourselves is using the 11 steps to serious joy, which is officially its title now, back and forth, or the 11 steps to manifestation, or the 11 steps to synchronicity with the universe. I can use all sorts of terms that I don't know the trademark to, but those steps, those steps tell us what is the composite of the I and the we formation, which is step 11. And so, for instance, tomorrow, am I open to everything my heart is calling for? Now, I've recently had, some moments, working with staff and whatnot, where, there was this sort of assumption that it's got to be this way or that way. Okay. So one of the things that you have to be mindful of is, in the world of duality, everyone will tell you there's just two choices. You're either a this or a that. You're either this or you're not. You're this or you're not. That is a low vibration, simple kindergarten perspective of spirituality. It is the most kindergarten that reality gets, black or white, right? The truth of the matter is, oh my goodness, already? The truth of the matter is that we have the option of a third option, and that third option is the third eye. The third eye is the option that takes both of the polarities into consideration. So, looking at yourself in your own mirage, maybe your heart wants to live here and your heart wants to live there. Why? Which I have to choose one or the other. And then your mind will say, because I can't afford it, because this can't happen. So the mind will give all these reasons why it's not possible. But let's look at the architecture of incarnation, which is the 11 steps. Step 6 is the we or the mirage. Step 9 is the I. What that means is, according to the 11 steps of serious joy, we are to determine the we before the I. The we is before the I. So you don't create an I until you've already found balance within the we. All right, we. So in the case of your heart wanting two things, the answer is, how do we get it all? And there is a way to get it all. There's a third perspective. In the example of I want to live in two places, well, maybe you live one place in the summer and one place in the winter. Maybe you divide it in different ways as far as semesters in schools, or you divide it in different ways as far as how you divide your furniture and whatnot. So as we move through these steps, it's like, how do I find the we perspective with my relationship to my heart? That's step 1. To what my feelings tell me, step 2. To what my belief about myself is in this life, which is your trajectory and your purpose, step 3. To where I belong with myself. And I would argue that on Thursday with step 4, I belong with the we version of myself, where I consider all of myself, all of my aspects, and all of my needs. Step 5, and then how do I think about this, which is next Friday. And then step 6, which is next Saturday, we basically get me-read. And so you are going to be negotiating with yourself how to open up to accept and receive. That step 6, accept and receive all of you. Now, I have to say, I'm quite proud of myself and surprised that during cancer season, when all these emotions came up, I finally found a way to incorporate my shadow. I have things I'm ashamed of. I have things I'm not proud of. I have things that were mistakes. I have the shame that I put on myself on about it. If I ridicule myself over it, I play all these earth games to beat myself up over the times I made mistakes. But I found a way to make my shadow part of my galactic council of light. I found a way to see that my shadow, my hard times, the things I regret, are a huge part of who I am. They are everything I'm not, therefore everything I am. Everything you are not supports everything you are. And I also realized that my shadow needs to be fed and satisfied. Like, this part of me is exploring the alternative option to the light. And it does many things. It actually fortifies my position in the light, fortifies my position towards that direction. Now, I myself in this lifetime, and I know they're playing light or dark, I'm playing 1,000 shades of gray, which I believe is where things go. One of the things I realized with Kathleen Kennedy and the Palladians, I just keep putting her out there, is the Palladians don't see, in their culture, they don't have black and white. They have only grays. And then we have the gray aliens too, right? And that's because these cultures have worked out the polarity to a point of centralism. And the irony is that the Palladians were telling me one of the reasons why they love watching Earth TV, the best reality show in the galaxy, is that we have so much unique individuality. In fact, the Palladians said to us, we're really astounded that you have more freedom to be unique than anyone else in the universe. You are the most set up, this species, to do anything you want. And yet you all flock around one person or another. You all try to be like Nike. You all try to be like someone else. They're actually dumbfounded. They don't understand. Like, why would you choose to be like some other brand or someone else when we've given you unlimited possibilities for individuality? Like, that's the greatest feature in the galactic system as of yet. Since we're on the topic, I will say this, that believe it or not, human beings affect their other cultures. One of the reasons why, I don't know why, I guess because part of the we is intergalactic. I guess that's the way to think about it. What I'm saying here is, when we say we, humans are not disconnected from the cosmos and the aliens. What they're telling us is, when we act up, they get sick too. They feel the vibrations. They say that when we launch nuclear weapons, they feel the vibrations. It makes their culture sick. It makes them start having side effects. So they're coming here not to save us, to save themselves. They're tired of one of their little cousin planets pooping in the universe and leaving their poop everywhere for someone else to clean up. So that was a fascinating perspective too. I always thought they were showing up to prevent us from killing ourselves. No, they're downstream consciously, and they don't want the smell of it anymore. They don't want to smell our shift. So I was like, that makes total sense, but there's a galactic we, there's a you we, there's a universal we inside of you. So that's the big picture. I see we're already 30 minutes in the show. Holy moly, it's moving fast. Let's take a look at the planets, Adam, and pull up our first, which is, I believe, the sun in Virgo. So this was originally made for us going live on Friday. So it starts with the sun in 28, and it should have gone to 0 there. I messed up. But the sun, of course, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday was putting together the connections of what you seek your life to become. So I seek it to become this, become that. I seek my company to become this, to become that. Mercury, in the meanwhile, has moves from step 20 Saturday, Friday, Saturday, and will move all the way to step 3 Libra. So Mercury is catching up. Our mind is catching up to our heart right now from the retrograde we experienced. Then let's go ahead and flip slides to the Libra sun, please, if we could. If we have another graphic for Libra, there we go. Great. So once we move into Libra, which is basically today, we move up to step 6 by Saturday or Friday night. And Mercury will make it up to step 3, which means keep in mind. So the way to look at this Mercury sun split is that your heart wants it, wants it, wants it, but your mind can't quite figure out how to do it. And I just want to invite you to be okay with that. The mind can't keep up because we're now moving past the mind. Our heart is creating beyond the limitations of the eye. Our heart is creating this new perspective of how we want to relate to ourselves. And the mind will be dumbfounded and confused. The mind will be dragging its feet, so to speak. And so that's okay. Just realize that you'll have a lot of contrary thoughts. Your mind will go back and forth. Your mind will argue with yourself. This is your mind working out how to put it in the context of your logic and how to put it in the context of what you want to do. Now, the other side of this is the south node is at 6 degrees. We have to flip that upside down, by the way, guys. And Black Moon Lilith is also in Aries, in Libra as well. Excuse me. So we're facing fears basically this week of all your fears of what will happen if I incorporate all sides of myself. If I allow this part of myself into the we tricks, right? The matrix for we. Is it going to pollute? If I allow my shadow to come in, is it going to pollute the rest of me? If I accept that I've been this person and I regret it, will it pollute me? So facing those fears of how, basically Black Moon Lilith is the shadow. And so you've been working on our shadow self since she entered into Libra. Shadow being the part we're afraid of, the part we're ashamed of, the part of ourselves that we regret, the part of ourselves we try to deny. That's all Black Moon Lilith. So you see what a blessing it is for the universe to bring Black Moon Lilith in at this last moment as we define the we. And the south node at 6 is saying, okay, what am I letting go of? I'm not going to hold on to this judgment of myself. I'm not going to hold on to this punishing of myself. I'm not going to hold on to this antiquated way of controlling myself, which is to be obsessive or dominate over my own consciousness or all those types of things. So we're letting it all go and we're adopting a new we policy. Meanwhile, Venus goes from 27 degrees Libra to 6 degrees Scorpio. She is the ruler of Libra. And so she now says, all right, as we are coming up with the who am I to myself, we're also opening up to who am I in the context of the world, which I've begun to see as well. As I've been analyzing some of my choices, I'm also incorporating the idea of who I am in this world, what the we Wateki is supposed to bring, the we techie. What is we techie supposed to bring to this planet? What did I agree to God? And keeping that in consideration of who I am becoming inside myself. And then moving into up into Scorpio, look at how it goes to Scorpio 6 by the end of the week. So by the end of the week, you've worked through everything you need to be with we, like inside yourself, we the Christopher Wateki, we the whoever you are. And we've worked out the boundaries of where that starts and begins. Like I'll let in this much of this and this much of this, but this part I will not accept into me and this part I will. So we're really finessing our signal of who we are on the inside. Now let's look at the contrary of Aries. In Aries, the North Node is at 6, and Chiron goes from 22 to 21. This is fascinating to me. So North Node at 6 is, okay, if I am to be this we, then what self-treatment must I open to? 6, I must open to non-judgment with myself. I must open to total acceptance of myself. I must open to unconditional love. I must open to unconditional patience with myself. I must open to all sorts of things in my behavior with myself, in my dialogue with myself. I must remain open to all these things in my behavior to myself, because you may have this great concept of we in the Libra side, like I want, we going to be this and we going to be that, all these multiple variations of myself. Or you could say the multiverse. The multiverse in Marvel and this whole idea of multiverse, again, is a preparation in people's minds to start thinking in terms of multidimensionality. That you exist here in one fashion and there in another fashion, but all of those existences come from one central we. And the we are all the variations of your incarnation. So we have already begun to be trained in this multi-universe. We've already begun trained that if like Captain Marvel fixes it here, it repairs over there. These principles have been slowly rolled out underneath our nose under the guise of entertainment, which is how it often happens. But Chiron goes from 22 to 21. That means that once you change your galactic perspective of 22, in other words, where do I belong in the context of the universe? Do I belong in the context of the universe in the single verse, or do I belong in the context of the universe, the multiverse? That's the question. Then at some point, I now change my story of my long-term action plan, which is the top decan of Aries, as to how I will participate in this lifetime's activities. So, in other words, I predict that by the end of the week, you are most likely going to be seeing yourself on the inside as some sort of we. And by the way, you don't have to think of this in terms of past lives. We can keep this on a very earth level. I am a father. I am a leader. I am a councilman. I am a congressman. I am all these I ams comes down to a we. We are all these versions of ourselves, this super entity of consciousness. So it doesn't have to be playing out in past lives. I happen to be aware of my past lives, so I go beyond my titles of sensei and father and all these things and go to my galactic titles I've given myself, which are grander in scope. But the point is that the story changes as a result at the end of the week. At the end of the week, you will see yourself on a different narrative. You'll see your character in a different play on words or a play of how you're going to be it. And so I think you feel a shift and you sort of heal what's possible in that regard. Now let's take a look at the moons and where the emotions are lying. The moon this week and today is in Taurus. And so what we have been doing for Friday, Saturday, and a little bit of Sunday, let me see where the moon is right now too, because we're live and so I don't know. Can I get my app? So the moon today is in, it's already in Gemini. Okay, it's already shifted to Gemini. I need to go to 2 here, but 1 chart, please. Thank you. Okay, but ultimately, so we've already been processing what we want to manifest and what will become. The moon now moves into Gemini or is in Gemini, so you'll be in sort of your inner Congress Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, where you are thinking about what your mirage terms are, what you're going to open up to, what you will not open up to, and therefore on the Aries side, what you will do or not do as a person, what you do or not do with your being, your multiverse being. And then as we move into Tuesday night, the moon moves into Cancer. And so this is a different debate inside of ourselves, where on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we are emotionally sort of negotiating and working through our feelings that come up, right? So feelings that will come up will be things like, but I wanted to prove I was right. Or I wanted to prove to the world this. Anything that you wanted to prove to the world or show the world is a moot thing. It's not relevant. It's not what you're actually here for. The world is not here to be your playground that you dominate like Monopoly. The world is simply an expression of who you are in real time, right? And so we have to emotionally grow up that your emotional satisfaction of seeing this person agree with you is frankly immature and is clearly that you don't understand the multiverse. Am I being judgmental here? Nope, but I'm drawing some lines. You got to be this tall to ride this ride. You can't ascend to the fifth. God has rules too. People say there's no hierarchy in heaven. Yes, there is. If you don't, they don't let people who are caught in certain things go to the higher realms because we don't want that stinking there, right? You got to be ready. You got to be able to go to the bathroom. You got to be able to get rid of your shift before you come into those higher realms. The same is true in all frequencies. There's just laws of nature that prevent you from ascending past that point. And one of the laws of nature is if you're still emoting and you're spitting off all these feelings that are based on a lower version of yourself, a shadow version of yourself that's upset that the world hasn't paid you or shown you, I think the universe looks at that as frankly, youth hour. This is where you're being young. This is where you don't understand the ways of the force. And so you will kind of be stuck to sort of process those feelings until you can rise to the next vibration and not bring your emotional baggage with you. There is, so to speak, no cargo area on the ascension flight. You cannot bring your emotional baggage with you. You cannot check your baggage. You certainly can't bring it on board. Okay. So Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday is this just emotional, relaxing, releasing, letting things go. This is when we hit step 2, step 3 and step 4. So we come to realize that if I belong with myself, being this new interdimensional person or persona, then I can't hold on to and harbor resentment, anger, jealousy, all these sort of lower frequencies. You have to check them at the gate. You're not going to be able to bring them past spiritual security. And then as we move into Thursday night and Friday, when we come back on the air, and by the way, we will be back this Friday. We're talking about the future. We're not talking about immediately as far as the date change. Come Friday, our heart will, we then begin to align our heart with all these principles. And our heart will ultimately say to us, I love this, I don't love that. So you may get to Thursday and Friday where your mind's come up with this brilliant plan, but your king or queen in you, the heart, isn't buying it. And so you may have to go back to the drawing table and make some differences. And then, of course, Saturday, which isn't listed here, we then get me read with ourselves. So your me read, your marriage plans and your marriage is next Saturday. So moving on to Gemini. Jupiter in Gemini goes from step 20 to step 21. And isn't it interesting that Jupiter moves to step 21 at the same time that Chiron and Aries moves back to step 21 Aries, and they sextile. So the point is that you will unite in your mind's bigger thinking, and you will unite in your assumptions of how your karma will play out into a unified story when it goes to step 21. Not only is step 21 the step when it starts to get fun, but step 21 is actually the grandmaster step of Jupiter, which means basically the universe goes, and so it is. You could say that once we hit 21, you are in fact telling the universe, okay, this is the role I'm going to play in this great sovereign revolution. I'm going to play this role. And some people will play the role of asshole. I'll just say it out there. I'm thinking of certain characters out there who will play the ass, and that's what they're here to play. And who knows, they might have been the nice guys in past lives, but not in this life. But we're not meant to focus on them. We're meant to focus on what we will tolerate in our life in the we. But I do believe that your role for the new era, or your role for this, at least this next game of the sovereignty revolution, this will most likely happen, begin to happen as soon as this week. I should say also that we are officially in a new timeline. So all of your karma from the past is moot from what I've been seen and shown. All your stories were ancient history. So from this point, your whole childhood is a backstory. In other words, your whole story here of like the whole story of, a lot of times we hear a lot of people identify from the victim story. I was born to this, I got this happened, this happened. All this story of I was victimized or I was hurt by another person. And all that story now is non-applicable. And so moving forward, I'm not interested, either or some of my other fellow practitioners, in the story of your damage. It's played out. And the only reason why you had that damage was because you were unaware of how the matrix worked. You were unaware of how the system worked. So it's really moot. The good news is that you get a blank slate. This is a blank slate. As of now, you're beginning a new karmic timeline. From what I've been shown by my ascended connections, nothing from the past comes from the future, goes to the future. Today's step 0 is that proclamation. Only if you want to carry that into the new story will it be relevant. And even then, those of us who are multidimensional will be like, oh, come on, you're bringing like ancient history to the table. That'd be like, coming to a congress of people and saying, back in the 1800s, when I was this other person and we didn't have electricity, it's like, stop right there. You're not even talking about this reality anymore. So the new story means the old story gets closed, put on the bookshelf in the Akashic records, and is moot from this point. Ironically, our guest was going to be an Akashic records expert, and hopefully she will come back because I have so many questions for that person. Moving on to Capricorn. Pluto is at 29 degrees Capricorn and will remain there until November 19th. Whoops, we're in Cancer. Can we go to Capricorn, please? Thank you. And I guess Mars will come out. Maybe you're showing me that we don't have that on the list. That's a good point. We'll talk about that. Oh, Mars is ahead. So in Capricorn, you notice it's at 29, right? 29. 29 is quite a fascinating Grandmaster degree. We've been at 29 Virgo for the last 24 hours or so. In that 29, I was feeling tons of 29 because I was feeling the nine, people's ego, responding to feelings. Okay. And so I want to just be very clear about the difference between we'll call it dumb 29 and enlightened 29, because Pluto is black or white. There's only two options here. You're either taking 29 in the higher or you're taking 29 to the lower. What do you feel is the difference? The difference is 9 to the 2 is responding to your feelings, right? So you're basically responding to your feelings. But if that 9 is going this way, right? Let me get it backwards. If that 9 is going this way, pointing to the outer world, this is the inner world where the 2 is. This is the outer world. So if your inner world is all emotional and you look to the, now I'm really confused in 3D space, and you look to the outer world, for your solution, like I'm upset, so I'm going to write my congressman. I'm upset, so I'm going to tell them. I'm upset, so I'm going to do something on the outside. You're in the old school Pluto. You don't graduate. Don't graduate means that you will not be able to ascend to the next position of power that you want to have. Just my opinion. You will stay in the game of 3D. You will stay in the game of I. Why is that? Because you're blaming the I on the other parties of outside of yourself. You're blaming the world or expecting the world to solve your inner emotions. That is simply kindergarten in spirituality at this point, and not ready for third grade where you have access to all the cool paint, okay, in art class. One must, to ascend in this position, must respond directly and resolve your emotional issue before you come to the table. If you come to the table with things emotionally unsettled inside of yourself, you are not thinking in the new era. You are thinking in the old era. And so I think that until November 19th, people are in every area of their life having an opportunity to respond differently, which means I'm coming to the table neutral. I have no emotions to put on you. However, I feel that what's best for the we is da da da. That position, I believe, is a true power position. The last time we had this position was the United States American Revolution, which is a huge moment. In that moment, we were breaking away from a third party trying to control us, Capricorn, and try to dominate over us, Pluto, and insisting that everything is according to them. And we said, no, we are going to be independent. We're going to choose our boundaries as we see fit. We're not even going to ask your permission because we don't have to under the laws of God. We don't have to ask Great Britain for permission. Who the heck are you to say you have control over us? It was a huge pronounced step. Now I think what's happened is through the laws of the United States, corporations being one of the biggest ones. I think if we were to have a constitutional convention, we have to officially declare in the new constitution that corporations do not have the rights as a citizen. Corporations are a dead entity. Corporations do not have a right to vote. They do not have a right to participate in elections. I think corporations have to be out because corporations are cold and loveless. They hand their power off to the next person, and they never have any personal karmic accountability as a result. That's why they're very dangerous. They're good to build things, but that's it. Otherwise, they're an interference to our rights. Just my opinion here. And I will say that's my opinion here in the court of Congress. But the point is that if you are, the irony here is, the irony here is corporations need to be thinking of considering the we, and individuals need to be considering the I in the equation before they go forward. Point being is, as you make these choices, you are elevating yourself to the position of power you will be in the new era, and particularly the role you will play in the sovereign revolution. So, ultimately, it's very important to respond to your needs, come to the table, and net 11, 29 plus 11, is, hey, you know what? I love myself and love myself some more. It doesn't matter if you're going to pass my legislation offer. It doesn't matter if you're going to give me the raise. It doesn't matter whatever you do. If I don't like what you do, I'm going to love myself and love myself some more and manifest something entirely different than you. I don't need you to be sovereign. I don't need you to claim me as sovereign. I don't need that. That is old school, pre-USA. Now, Mars, by the way, now I'm going to Mars. Mars goes from 9 to 13. And remember the 9 and the 29. Mars is the ruler of 9. Mars is the ruler of 9. So Mars in Cancer is like Mars in 9. So it's like Mars in 2. So Mars in 2 is the 9 in the 2. Mars in Cancer is the 29. So Mars is infuriating, is stirring up all the shift in the bottom of the ocean, bringing up all the issues that you have, all the beef you have with society, the beef you have with this person or that person. All those beefs are coming up with Mars there. And so again, the temptation is, am I going to blame others for my emotions? If I blame others, oh, it's because of them, it's because of this political party, it's because of this corporation. Even I can see that corporations have done wrong, but I have allowed in my reality for that to happen. I have opted in, I have bought their products, I have supported them. I have contributed to that. Me, the we, have contributed to that. So Mars from 9 to 13 means by the end of the week, 13, bump, 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 guess what 13 is? The United States sun. So Mars conjoins the United States sun on Friday. That means I do predict shift to hit the fan and the first wave of conflict, probably under the guise of the election here in the United States, although that's a whole other topic. But I do believe people get up in arms and super emotional. Those people who can insist on the I, Mars is the capital I right there. Mars is I, Mars is the concept of I. Mars is the concept that your ego and what you do is more important than your spirit and what has carnated. All the eyes will be in uproar, most likely on 13 degrees, because the universe is going to create a conflict. We will create a conflict together that demonstrates that whether people are operating from the I or operating from the we. All right. So Mars is stirring the pot. Now we go to Pisces, the peacemakers. Let's take a little sip here. So for Pisces, Saturn goes from 15 to 14 this week in Pisces. Now, Saturn has been at 15, commanding and demanding that we are mindful of our heart, 5 to the 1, and that we listen to our heart. And so we have been forced to listen to our heart. Well, when Saturn goes to 14, it means we have come to a conclusion. Our heart knows where we belong. Our heart knows where we don't belong. And I actually don't have here in my notes because of the scatter of this show. I don't have in my notes what day that happens. So maybe someone on my staff can tell me when does step 14 happen and pass it off to the director. I'll let people know. But what that means is you will form an opinion, an official opinion by the end of the week as far as what your karmic role is with your daily life. And I'm being forced to this right now. We're having an issue in part of my organization right now about what we should allow to go on in a certain section of our show. I mean, of our club, for instance, and so everyone is sort of like choosing through that little minor conflict or debate, I should say, where they belong in the position. Karmically, I want to separate that who you belong. So let's go back to the last time we were in this position, the American Revolution. Okay. American Revolution is the best thing I can look at to Pluto going to Aquarius. By the way, the American Revolution was from Pluto at 27 degrees, 27 Capricorn, and the American Revolution ended at 4 degrees Aquarius. So when Pluto got to Grandmaster for Aquarius, we ended the revolution. So basically the revolution comes down to what you allow to control yourself to who you belong with you in the end. So you're part of the revolution. I don't want to call it a revolution. I'm going to call it, basically, the sovereignty revolution. Your part has all to do with you and your relationship to you. This is not a sovereign revolution for the world, rights for the world, freedom for the world. This is about your freedom and where you belong with yourself. So Saturn is probably going to position you as to where you belong in that particular moment. Are you going to be with George Washington, on the front line, actually, using force to go ahead? Will you be in the Continental Congress? Will you be a representative to Europe and try to make peace there? Will you be just sitting in your log cabin, waiting for the news to come in every couple of weeks? Your heart belongs somewhere in this particular moment. I know where my heart belongs. I have since my whole life. And just so you know, you may belong there in the sovereign revolution, but that means that after it's over, you may not still belong there. So don't assume that it's forever kind of thing, right? Once Washington was president 2 times, that man retired and hung out, up in his estate, and that was it. He was done. He's a Pisces. That's all he wanted to give. So Neptune is at 28 all week, which means these decisions immediately manifest your place in the timeline. So you commanding where you belong in that moment basically writes your karmic history and is recorded to spirit. And then finally, Uranus. Uranus begins at 27 degrees and will retrograde back to 26 degrees Taurus. Again, remember, Uranus has been hanging out at 27 for a long time. Saturn's been hanging out at 15 for a long time. Chiron's been at 22 Aries for a long time. So these planets that are very influential in our outer life have been staying at the same degree for a long time. My assumption is that it was so you could have time to figure out the we. How are you weeing with yourself? We. How are you going to say yes to yourself? That's what we is. You say yes to yourself. We. So Now that we figure out our mirage, boom, all these major planets all move a degree. So, Chiron moves to 21. The story needs to start. Saturn goes to 14. Okay, I have an opinion now. I have a side I'm going to take, to push or to work with or interact with or cooperate with. And Uranus says, oh, my innovation plans now switch to a new commandment or a new direction I want to aim for. So by the end of the week, once you are married, you have a different story about the future, Chiron. You have an opinion about where you're to stand in the room in your daily life, and you're aiming for a different goal of manifestation. Modified, I don't think entirely different, modified. And I've even seen this in my company. I mean, I have, even I actually have already begun to realize, the role of sensei is changing. I'm no longer the sensei you thought I was or I have been. We're into a new period here, and I'm going to create a different character. Not that it's false, but I'm going to just play a different role in this next chapter, which will then change after this chapter is over. So I'm doing a wardrobe change. And that's one of the reasons why Namaste Today Live is officially retiring as a title. And we're starting a new version of ourselves. It's why we're starting a studio in Serious Choice. So many different reasons of why we're changing things. We're reacting to the planets. So this is how it all maps out. We're about 1 hour and 15 minutes in. I'm a little long, but that's okay. I would say now it's time to talk about what this transition means for you. Go steep yourself some tea or cheap hotel coffee, and let's have our tea time. Alrighty, welcome to tea time. And by the way, I'm going to be reorganizing the whole show. So say au revoir to some of the things you've seen. I think I went live with Namaste Today in 2015, if I'm not mistaken. I've done some research on myself. 2015, so that's 9 years. That's perfect for a net 9 years. Of course, in the 10th year, I change. But I just feel like it's time to change it. Namaste Today Live was meant to be a morning show. It never was. That's why it's Namaste Today. It's supposed to be 5 days a week today, but it never worked out that way. And Namaste Today has such a nice ring to it. But I realized, I'm like, if you were searching for astrology, you would never search the terms Namaste Today. It just doesn't fit. So anyways, we're reinventing ourselves, and tea time will probably be reinvented too, because tea time doesn't say horoscopes either. That was back when I was expressing myself creatively and trying to make myself stand out. I like it, but it's now being retired. So that said, we will have, of course, our weekly horoscopes. I believe they're going to be now called the soul horoscopes. So we're going to steep some tea for the soul horoscopes, and we'll always have them included in this show. I promise you that. That is the work of one-on-one. So with that said, this week I want to keep it really simple. I'm not going to get into the dynamics of the other planets or get into what we're really doing. Part of what this week's theme is 1,000 Shades of Gray. Okay, that's the subtitle of the week, 1,000 Shades of Gray. I don't think I got to it earlier because I'm so bouncing off the walls here with different possibilities. And the key question of the week, if you have it, Adam, actually is an important one, and I'm looking for it myself to get it right. What is my place? Where do I deserve a raise? Sorry. Actually, that's what it is. Put it back up, Adam. You had it right. It changed a couple times. How does my behavior toward myself affect the me, we? Sorry. I had a lot of rewrites. How does my behavior towards myself affect the me, we? So I want to be very clear. If you are awake to the possibilities of the universe, everything that happens to you is based on how you treat yourself. Everything. And a lot of people say, I'm going to start brushing my teeth 4 times a day. Yeah. And it's like, okay, you're going to start that. Cool. That starting will create a change to some degree. However, what will create a change the most is when you're going to bed and you realize you haven't brushed your teeth. Are you going to respond by enforcing this new thing with yourself, or are you going to doze off and not brush your teeth? Okay. That response to a situation is twice as powerful as manifestation. It's one of the secrets that I talk about in seriousjoy.com for those who are serious about their joy. And we learn that the response to yourself is far more powerful than the initiation. All right. Because the response is we, the initiation is an I. So how can initiation and I possibly overcome the we? We've allowed the I to overcome the we, but that's when we as a collective were Neanderthal, right? We didn't understand how the matrix worked. We weren't aware of that. Not even our fault that we didn't. It was snuffed out by other species. But the point is like, ultimately, what is the response to myself that's important? And how do I make a response that brings me higher? So the trick of the trade here is I want to respond to myself higher and higher and higher and higher. And every time I respond to myself higher, I edge up my vibration to a higher and higher perspective. So keep that in mind as we transition these two worlds. Now, for each of the 12 signs this week, I want to dive into four things basically. One is the sun in Virgo at 29. And since it's over now, because I plan on reporting this on Friday, but I still think it's important for hindsight. 29 Virgo, um, what is your official becoming? What are you going to officially become? So where are you becoming something new? Where is this playing out? Where does the action happen? And the becoming is what we've been in the whole time. The becoming is what's most important, because if you model the becoming where I tell you to model it, according to your astrology, the entire rest of your life will fall into that automatically. If you try to become it in your thoughts, and I tell you today it's in your emotions, changing your mind will not change your emotions. Like, if it's in your thoughts and you're trying to become your emotions, changing your feelings will not change your mind. So I'm trying to say, you may think that the battle or the front line is somewhere in your life. I'm going to tell you where the battle actually is and where you are actually focusing on that particular battle. Then I will talk about Pluto at 29 and what area of your life or control is therefore updated as a result of you becoming this new person. And incidentally, just because we're out of Virgo doesn't mean we're done with becoming. Becoming is step 11. So we're going to finesse step 6 in Libra, and we're going to finesse step 0 in Scorpio, and we're going to finesse step 3 in Sag, and we're going to finesse step 2, 3 in Sag, step 8 in Capricorn, I'm getting backwards, and step 4 in Aquarius. These are all steps that are prior to the becoming. So you set out this plan to become, but then you start tweaking with and messing with steps that are prior to the completion. So although you say, I'm becoming this, you're basically filing a flight path to the universe saying, I intend to become this. And each time you tweak these other sub steps, you are in fact affecting the net result of 11. All right. The I love myself and I love myself some more. Pluto at 29 means that we're also changing our position of world power. Our power in the world, our position in the world, how we position ourselves in that situation. And so I'll talk about for each of 12 signs, where does that affect your power in the world, and where one must also be very, very awake and aware of also coordinating our new becoming with where we have authority in the world. Then I'll talk about the sun in Libra and where your mirage is playing out. Every sign has their mirage playing out somewhere in their life. Okay. You use one part of your life to modify your mirage. In the case of Tauruses, it's our literal life. We use our literal life, our day-to-day work. People go, why are you so obsessed with work? Because my work is part of my we. It starts with who I am to myself, to who I am to my coworkers, to who I am to my lifestyle. Tauruses use the sixth house to create their relationships. All their relationships come from their day-to-day lives. Tauruses are very much plugged into the butcher and the baker and the candy maker. We connect to all these different varieties, and this is how we determine our we in life. So I'll talk about for each 12 signs where you determine the we. And then finally, the I. Where is the I being reorchestrated and reworked with the Earth in Aries and also Chiron in Aries and North Node in Aries? Where is that all constructed? Where is that holding space? And where are you technically maybe where the I is getting in the way of the we? Where is that happening? All right, starting with the Aries, the Arii. Arii. Arii? Arii, Aries. You are becoming a new lifestyle. So your becoming is in your lifestyle. The way you eat, the way you go, how do you go to work? Do you pick up the kids? Is it quality? Are you like the Jeffersons on the top floor? Are you like whatever on the bottom floor? Like what is your becoming? What are you becoming in the end? Right. I've had a lot of philosophical discussions with people about how Aries are really changing, really changing. I'm seeing Aries consider the we all the time. Whereas when I started this practice, I did not see that ever. I joked about it. I thought it was cute and adorable, but also annoying how it was all I, and talking to you in Aries was all I, and all you heard about was them. Always. They never talked about me. They never included me in the conversation. I know I'm being there are certain areas that were above that, but it was rare. Frankly, it was rare, but it's okay. That was the role you were playing. Now the role you were playing incorporates your entire world with you. You are incorporating how it will affect your coworkers, how it will affect your wife or husband, how it will affect your children. And maybe you did in the past once shit hit the fan, but now I feel like before you initiate, you'll be incorporating your entire lifestyle, how I end up becoming. So if I am a jerk here, I will become in a lifestyle where I am, ridiculed and not trusted. So considering like the life that you will become. Now, with Pluto and Capricorn at 29 degrees, This directly trines into and affects your potential for your career success. If you don't become the we in your life, you will be limited in your potential of how far you can go in your career and legacy. You literally will be clipping your own wings. Okay. And since the world will be half in and out of the we I phase, probably for the rest of our life, um, you're gonna be some sort of a great example of ourselves. Basically humbling our ego, which means a winged ego, as I call it, or a humble ego, is one that reports to the heart. If your ego needs your heart's permission, then you are evolved, my friend. If your ego only needs your mind's permission, watch out. So when the sun goes in Libra, you are a purist in the sense that you will, for the next week, redetermine the capacity of you, the I versus the we. And this isn't how you treat yourself. Do you respond to yourself as an I, or do you respond to yourself as a we? Now, by the way, we is not just you. We is also we the people, we the nation, we the country of, we the city of, we the whatever. So if you respond to yourself considering the we, I believe you will evolve to a higher relationship to yourself, and you'll start to see new options for power and interest that can unfold. If, however, you respond to yourself only thinking of the I, then I believe you will stay at the level you're at. Next opportunity for ascension would be next year. With the Earth in Aries, what ends up actually happening from this work is that you craft a new ego operating system, EOS. So your ego operating system, that means your fight or flight, you're flinching. In essence, how do we get out of fight or flight? We get out of fight or flight by changing the dynamic of us versus I versus the world, man versus the world, man versus, we learn this in literature. I remember in English class, it's like man versus the world, man versus this, man versus that. I remember asking my English teacher, why is man always versus something else? Why isn't man working with? Why isn't this an equal sign? And she said, Techie, stay after class, which was common. I had to be staying after class because there's interesting concepts that just were outside the normal scope. And she saw it and they saw it as an interruption. They're like, you should just major in philosophy or something in college. They were kind, but they didn't like me talking about like bringing the third eye perspective in. I was just curious. So the point is that your new ego, which is what's crafting with Earth and Aries, your operating system, you could say the part of you that responds automatically is being programmed by whether or not you relate to yourself as a we or an I. Okay, moving on. Taurus. Taurus, okay, this is really important. First of all, Tauruses are becoming their heart's desire. If you are not becoming your heart's desire, you're missing the boat. I'm just going to say it. Call a fellow cow out. You are to become everything your heart desires. That's the way it's been architected. If you're not becoming everything your heart desires, you are slighting yourself. Now, you may say, but it's either this or that. And I would say, no, that's two-dimensional. That's three-dimensional. The third eye perspective is this and that. I am this and I am that. But that's a paradox. Yes, life is a paradox. You are here and you are not here at the same time. So we must construct this paradoxical thinking to line into the mastery. So if you are not getting everything your heart wants, I wouldn't say getting, I would say heading for. If your life is not becoming every one of your heart's desires, you are in fact fractioning yourself and forcing yourself to go without in order to go in another direction. And if you feel like I only have two choices, then you have manifested a 3D perspective, not a 5D perspective. Technically, a 5D perspective has 5 choices, okay? 5. So now with Pluto, this means that as you become your heart's desires, you also live your true life purpose, Pluto 29. Your true life purpose is to express yourself as all your heart's desires. Some people go, God, Tauruses are really greedy, or they're very, they want everything. They're kind of, they're pigs. They pig out on life. Yes, that's the whole point. We're here to manifest the physicalization of our heart's desires. When you're in heaven, you're dying to taste pudding again. You can't taste it. You know what it tasted like from memory, but you can't actually taste it. Taurus is coming down here to actually make it, taste it, broadcast it, whatever. So you are to become your heart's desire, and that is to be tied to your life's purpose. That your life's purpose is your greatest heart's desire. Now, as the sun moves into Libra, it comes down to who do I need to be to myself in the moment, in my body and in the moment, to incorporate the we? What do I need to open up to in the moment inside of me in order to incorporate the we? So I have to open up to the fact that I might have to take turns with those different pleasures. I might have to open up to the fact that I will both be stressed and calm, or you have to open up to certain aspects of balance inside yourself, which is the is and is not. and create a moment, to craft a moment by Saturday, a different moment you live in. That moment defines all potential of who you are to everything. So if you are in the moment happy, then when you see the baker and the candy man, you'll be happy and they will relate to a happy level. If you're in the moment stressed and grumpy, then you will manifest a daily life that is stressful and grumpy. Now, the I for Tauruses actually is in their faith, okay? And you'll hear me say about it. I'll say, I promised God this. I told the Spirit I would do that. I'm on a mission for this. That's where my I comes out. Ironically, I get really arrogant and I like when I'm talking about my relationship to God and the universe. I'm like, no, it's almost like my ego wants to prove something to God, so much that I actually forgot to ask for help because I got it, like I would say to God. And God's like, okay, like, you missed a little I, okay. So in that capacity, we are manifesting a new relationship to God. You could say a new relationship to God, a new way of connecting to spirit. So the I becomes the we in our perspective to God. We are one of many. It is a we perspective, and the individual I is not necessarily applied to ego. On the flip side, that I of God, right? Taurus is being the I of God, literally, um, has given us a lot of strength over the years. I know I fought a lot of holy wars in my dark side when I was fighting the earth for who has got the better version of Christ, which I later regretted, of course, and apologized to Christ for, but um, and still do to this day. But I was so certain I had the best way of looking at spirituality, and everyone else was wrong. And that was in my junior lifetimes where I was playing the junior role. So you have to consider the we in your spirituality. Um, it's really the we, it's not the I in that case. Geminis. Geminis are ultimately having to become a new emotional state. So you are to become a new emotional state. You must, and that's the thing. A lot of Geminis don't pay attention to the emotional. They just want to live in the mind. But it's like that's 1/12 of you. That'd be like living in your big toe and not living in the rest of you. So Geminis are becoming an emotional state. If you don't know what emotional state you are right now, so if you're watching Gemini and you can't tell me what your emotional state is, you have missed the boat. Go back and repeat as much as you can. So without knowing your emotional state, remember the thought is electric, emotion is magnetic. So if you're not including the magnetic, you're only creating electrical waves. Electrical waves just shock people. They don't do much. They have to be moved by the magnetism, the emotion. So if you're not an incorporation of your feelings and your thoughts, you are junior as far as the scale of what's possible. Also, your thoughts have no guidance. They're just off on rogue and doing what they want. They don't have anything to ground them and to bring them into some sort of certainty and connection to Earth. So you're becoming an emotional being. That's the new era of Gemini. Geminis are aware of their feelings. I'm not saying all Geminis, by the way. I'm saying some. But Pluto at 29 says, until you become emotional and be aware of your emotional state, as who you are is an emotional state with an intellectual idea, then you will not change your life and you will not move to the next grade, whatever you happen to be. You just will not move forward. Pluto 29 means, Gemini didn't go through the transformation. Remember, 29 is how you respond to your feelings. So if you don't become an emotional being, how are you going to respond to it, right? So you will become and you'll transform your life as a result. Now, the sun in Libra says, now you must create a we with your heart. So this mirage must include your inner child. Your inner child must be included into the we. And, Geminis are fun. They'll bounce in their inner child and they'll bounce out, they'll bounce into being, very authoritative. Then they'll bounce to be like a sweet little feather. I see the heart come and go with Geminis. I don't see it as a constant. Very few Geminis do I feel their heart continually all the time. The universe is saying your mirage must be like to your heart. It must be married to your heart. Just as Tauruses must be married to the moment, just like Aries must be married to themselves. If we don't have these mirages in place, we are not we are I. Okay, so you must be married to your heart at all times. Do not think anything, no thought or word should go out of your mouth that hasn't been approved by your heart, period. If you're not, you are not enlightened. You are enshadowed, so to speak. Now, the Earth in Aries is where the I has to do with your place in society. You let your ego take over because you are overly concerned in how you compare to others in the world. Your comparison to others in the world is natural being a Gemini, always comparing one thought to another, one thing to another, one twin to another. Yes, it's natural that you compare yourself to others in the world. But do you compare your we version of yourself to the world or your I version of yourself to the world? Your I version is the part that only the world has seen. The we is the part of you that you often hide very well from the world. So what the I is saying is you must show up as the multidimensional, multifaceted, what appears to be schizophrenic version of yourself. That must be who you present in the world, and then your I in the world will be a greater I. So, becoming the we in the world, and that we means you are a representative of your heart, not just a representative of your intellect. Cancers, Cancers, you are becoming a new attitude. So, if you have not adopted a new attitude in the last 24 hours, you missed the boat. Okay. I'm going to be very harsh about this. You're not in the new era if your attitude hasn't changed. If a Cancer comes to me and doesn't say, my attitude about this has changed, I'm going to assume you're on, the role you're playing is you're representing the old way we used to be in the sovereign revolution. I think you're going to play the old version, which is fine. Play the old version. We need reminders of what we don't want to be. I personally like to be on the cutting edge. Some people like to be like holding up the back. It all depends on what your role is. One's not better than the other. I find one more exciting personally, but that's me. So if you haven't become different in your attitude about things, particularly relationships, you're going to not be moving forward, at least with Washington. You'll be back hanging out with the crops in Virginia. Okay. Now that said, and I am being a little judgy here, because I think if you're following me, you came to be certain, you came to know who you are and what your role is. So just know who you are and what your role is. We'll write home to you. But the point is that relationships are a huge issue. I cannot tell you how many times I'm still having cancers. I mean, if I have any kind of open cancer thing where I let people ask questions, it is always about relationships. It's still, you're all still stuck on that. I feel you. I understand, but also it's time to move on. Don't you agree? The astrology says your attitude is what's causing the issue with relationships. You have the wrong attitude. And in most cases, at least in the cases of people I know, the attitude is that you can change them. The attitude is that you're here for them for a lifetime, even if they act like shift. Your attitude is that, you were born to be together and you don't care about any of the signs or evidence or the fact that he's closed you out or she's closed you out and ghosted you for 5 years. You saw this attitude that you're the one. That's a mental attitude, not based on anything you're witnessing. So you must become this new attitude to be freed of your power struggles in relationships. Unless the attitude happens, I don't see it happening. Now, then the Sun in Libra means now, as you make boundaries with yourself, okay, you must incorporate the we in your boundaries with yourself. Now, this is where Cancers have blown it. I'm just going to be very honest. Your boundaries with yourself have often thrown yourself under the bus. I see it all the time. Oh, it's okay. I know I said I wouldn't wake up at this hour, but she needs me. Are you kidding me? It's like the idea is in this particular sense of others, it's not that Cancers have failed to include others. It's that they didn't include themselves, is what I've seen. They didn't include their needs, they didn't include their integrity. So in my opinion, you're not doing wrong in society. I see you sinning against yourself. That's what I see over and over again. Or shutting out society. There are some Cancers who are like closed down like Meryl Streep and don't give you any insight into who they are. And they are, they're in it for the eye, but they're pretending it's different. So there's some rare occasions, but I'm not attracting those Cancers. So you have to consider you and every boundary you draw for you, not just Prince or Princess Charming. Hold on. I think because my mother's a Cancer, I just coughed up some past life phlegm there from that. Now, that said, the I for you, Cancer, is who you are in the world, what you achieve. And so what the astrology says is Cancers have failed to include their feelings in all of their decisions. That's where you have failed to include. Your feelings are what's important. When I say consider your boundaries, it's around your feelings, protecting your feelings. Who are you with your feelings? You have failed to include how you feel about it. All right. And because you have failed to include how you feel about it, you're not making good decisions for yourself, says the I. The I's have been ironically missing the I in many cases. In other cases, not true. I've seen some Cancers that just roll over the world and take command. But the universe is saying you have to be including your feelings whenever you make a decision. And so your I will be more whole if it's including the we of all your different feelings. Now, that said, just because of your feelings doesn't mean they're correct. It means that's what you're picking up on now. So incorporating does not mean to accept the way they are or to accept the status quo. I feel bad about this, so I'm going to make this decision. Well, hold on. Do you have to still feel bad? Is that something you have to harbor? Is that something you can actually bring to neutrality? So a lot of times with Cancers, It's that you have to consider your feelings. And if your feelings aren't neutral, then you're not in a place to make a decision. You're not. You can't. How can you? You're blinded by your emotion. Emotion is just a rearview mirror of how the whole soul is going. It's not the absolute. It's actually the child of the sun. The sun's light shines on the moon reflects the sun. So the moon is already just bouncing off the heart. Anyways, to begin with, it's already a reflection. It's not your truth. Your truth is your sun, where your heart emanates, where your heart, blasts energy. So I think there's some distinctions there for cancers as well. Now, as I mentioned, if you consider your feelings and bring them to a neutrality, Libra, you have Libra ruling your fourth house, which means a Cancer operating at the highest degree will be balanced in their emotions already. They won't come to the table, the 10th house, with an emotional disposition, already super tidal wave about one thing and super vacant about the other. You must come to the table neutral to be the real I that you are and to have the impact that you want. So what this is basically saying is Cancers who don't neutralize their feelings and consider them, they will find themselves making the wrong decisions in career and not end up where they belong in their career or leaving the legacy they want because they're coming to the table with an I perspective in the first place, which is I am hurt, I'm upset, I'm this. It's like, okay. And then it would say, and so therefore you. And it's like, no, no, no. You're coming to the table without your feelings neutral. You're not ready for prime time here. All right, moving on to the Leos. Leos! Leos, I'm real interested in this. Now, you are becoming how do I say this? You are becoming your abundant self. So you must become abundant before you move on to this next step. Abundant is I'm living like a queen. I'm living like a king. I got it all. I got my family, I got my money, I got my this, I got my that. I got this in the bank, I got that in the bank. I am abundance. I have unlimited resources. I am the sun, for God's sakes. I have unlimited resources. So you are the sun already. Yet a lot of your operations comes from the perspective of lack. I can't tell you how many Leos want the world to know. See, I was right. See, I was right. See how I was right about this. See how I was right about that. It's like, why do I need to recognize that? Why cannot you become it to begin with? Why do you need me, the planets, to realize you're hot, right? So any Leo operating from, I need you to see this, or I need you to understand this, or I need you to recognize this, you've become the old era, you have not become the new. You are not a star bright enough, I think, to shine and bring in the gravity of change that you want to bring. You can always go back to the table and do it. Now, what this says is when Leos do not become their abundant self now, where it's the money's here, I just haven't seen it show up in gold, then they cannot change their lifestyle because you will not be able to finance a change of life, which every Leo is going through. I know every Leo I know has moved, changed things, changed their job, changed their wives, they're all changing stuff right now. Their wardrobe change. But if that wardrobe changes from lack, then you will not change into a fancy, cool robe. You're going to change into something with holes in it, right? And your lifestyle will have holes in it too. And what the universe is saying is those holes are based on the fact that you didn't give yourself credit to begin with. Now, that said, the sun going into Libra for you means that your mindset, the we, must be we. So Leos who think I on the inside will be on the side of showing us what not to do. The Leos who think we, that every thought that I have is in consideration of everyone else, will be the evolved Leos, the ones who will really rule the jungle of the new era. That is my opinion, I just want to say for a disclaimer, this is my opinion of 18 years on the air and 5 or 6 behind the air. You can disagree. You're free to disagree. We probably won't work together. I'm not insisting that you agree with me. I'm just saying we're all moving to new worlds where our rules meet each other. So, no harm, no foul. See you in heaven. That's going to be kind of where it kind of comes down to. Now, the sun in Libra says, okay, I must come from the we perspective when I think about myself. It's me and all the versions of me and who I interact with. And from that we perspective, you are then able to live your purpose. You cannot live your purpose from an I perspective, according to your astrology. It must be a balanced and fair kingdom or queendom. Any king or queen that's not balanced and fair, in other words, if they're not looking at all sides, you're not really fit to rule, are you? Because you're only fit to rule what you want, which is where most king or queens ended up who manifested as king and queens. So your purpose on earth, the shift you want to make, okay? And think of like in the past, how many benign kings are there that you can think of? I mean, I think of, obviously legends more than I think of reality. I don't see many kings that were fair in the way, or queens that have been fair on both sides. Elizabeth didn't do well. I think King Arthur and the Legend of King Arthur was the only time I can remember in history where there was an approach of both sides of, both the kingdom and the people in his ideas of how to go forward. Now that said, that will allow you to live your purpose, and your purpose is not for your name to go down in history, but your team that you were in charge of to go down in history. Bigger change there. All right, moving on to the virgins, not so much anymore. Virgos, you are here to become now all that is possible. You are here to become, I love myself and I love myself some more. You are to embody the 11 principle. I love myself and I love myself some more, and I can feel it. I am loving watching the Virgos. I've never seen them so happy in my life. I've never seen them so attractive, frankly. Like suddenly they're like kind of sexy. Like as before, they're in my second house. I'm like, oh, I'll work with them. But now it's just like, wowza. Like I'm starting to see their beauty come out. I'm starting to see them just come into their just bright, beautiful power. And it's really great because, they had so much to work through. And I've been with you every moment of the time. I'm almost going to cry. I've been with you every moment. But this becoming of who you are will lead to your relationship power or not. Actually, specifically will relate to, excuse me for one second, I'm getting confused because I wrote the wrong notes here. Yeah, right. So the Pluto, I see what it is. The Pluto's marked out here. Let's mark these out so I get these right. One second. I've taken a false note here. And because I'm like a script that follows things, I need to have the note. So hold on, Virgo. If you'll excuse me, I'm going to have to rewrite this. Make sure it's correct. 5. Thank you. So for you to have your dreams come true, you must live by the principle of I love myself and love myself some more. You must live by the principle of always loving yourself and bringing your best heart to the table. That will make sure all your dreams come true. The only reason why Virgos haven't had their dreams come true is because they weren't loving themselves and loving themselves some more. Why do you have to love yourself and some more? Because you are so big. You have so much going inside of you. You need 2 doses of everything. Okay. So your ability to transform your love story, your ability to transform your purpose, your ability to create the life you were born to live all comes down to whether or not your ego identifies with I love myself some more, and I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that. Now, now, when it comes to Libra, this all comes down to your self-worth. You must be absolutely neutral. See both sides of your self-worth always. You must recognize, and you might, how the fuck do I do that? Well, you have to recognize how your debt is actually supporting your abundance. You see debt as in, oh, I'm lost forever. I can't, I have insecurity about this. I have insecurity about that. But you fail to see that this insecurity about this built that strength in that. The fact that you were insecure about, your literary ability meant that you went out and got a college degree in English. And so Virgos tend to forget that the dark leads to the light, that everything that they don't like about themselves led to what they like about themselves. And so you do not pay attention to the value of that self-criticism. Boy, I'm picking up on Virgo motion big time here. Whew. So that said, with Aries the eye, you will not be able to change your life. You will not be able to have fair boundaries. You will not be able to get the return on your investment unless you, at the same time, are very balanced about how you look at your self-worth versus how you don't. Whew, picking up on Virgo energy so bad there. I got to get out of this one. Libras. Libras, you are at an interesting place because, in essence, this is your first house, Libra. This is who you are. This is how you project yourself, right, in the moment. And so Libra, so Virgo energy, the Grandmaster of Virgo energy, is ultimately your faith. So, you are mastering faith. You are becoming faithful. Becoming faithful. Becoming faithful means there's no question as to whether you are or aren't. There's no question as to whether the universe supports you or not. There's no question. It is simply not allowed in the courtroom that whether or not faith is going to be. You assume, I love myself, I love myself some more. I got me, God's got me, the universe has got me. It's done. So Libras have to crystallize and become their faith. They must become expressions of their faith. You see this with the court on the judge. You see a judge sitting on the stand. Does the judge question their authority up there? Does the judge question for one moment that the United States will back them, that the law will back them? No. A judge can only be fair knowing they have God's backup from the beginning, knowing they have the country's backup from the beginning. They can't be fair unless they know they are backed up. I'm going to spare you that sound. So you must become your faith, okay? And when you become your faith, then You can also become your emotional ground. You can be emotionally grounded. And that's been where Libras have allowed their power to be taken away. They've allowed other people to, encroach upon their lives or whatever. They've also had some twisted agreements, which I think are being outdated now. A lot of Libras have some twisted contracts when you sign a contract with a Libra, because it's like, oh, I'm going to give you all this, and there's a lot of fine print of what they're going to get. Just saying, it's old school Libra. People are like, do you not like Libras? No, I love Libras. I love them. I'd like them to come online, please, and start operating from the new system and not the old system of like, let me scratch your back and I'll take 4 scratches. I'm like, come on. I just don't buy that. That's where it's an injustice, Not everyone, but a lot of them. I'm just saying, and Libra risings too. So now it's like, hey, if you have immaculate faith, you don't need to go. You don't have to worry about your emotional ground. You don't have to worry about your security. You don't have to worry about anything. God's got you, or God doesn't. Which is it? So the Pluto at 29 says your power in your family changes. Your power over your emotional security changes. You become basically sovereign from all these different things. Now, with the sun going into Libra, it means that all the work, Libra, I mean, hear me out, Libra, all the work is with yourself, all of it. Okay. All of it. I know you like to relate to people, but I don't even want to even talk to you until I know what you've done for yourself, because I'm tired of that. You know what I mean? Like, Libras will tend to put themselves to the side and just deal with the people. I don't want to talk to a Libra who's thrown themselves to the side. You're not ready to talk as far as I'm concerned. Some of you are, some of you aren't. I'm not, again, I'm just being honest here. And this is part of the new Christopher, by the way, the new we. It's like Christopher's going to be like kind of blank honest in the future. I have like candy coated stuff in the past and tiptoed around wounds. We have a lot of things to do now. We don't have more time for that. So I'm going to be I'm cool that you won't talk to me again until heaven. I'm cool. That's cool. Like, it doesn't matter. I know how it works. So I'm going to be honest, but I'm going to be kind in that regard. So in that regard, Libras, as we move into the sun in Libra, although there is all these things I need from you in most of the conversation, I want to know, what have you done for yourself before you talk about what I can do for you. That's going to be my policy on the door. The universe is saying the same thing. You have to start treating yourself right. And Libras go to me, I do treat myself right. I go to the spa, I do this. No, I'm talking about in your head on the way home on the drive, how you beat yourself up from the point of your work to the point of home about how all these things are bad and how you're not good enough and all that stuff. Libras are beating themselves up before they even get to the situation. And that's learned behavior, probably from Christianity. So let's not even like blame ourselves. Damn Christians. And Constantine fucked everything up. I know it. But the truth is, we don't have to continue that if we don't want to. So you have to be, in this Libra season, completely coming from a fair treatment of yourself before you discuss any injustice that you see in the world. I don't want to hear about anything that's wrong in the world until I hear about everything that's right with you. In that way, Librans are becoming more Aries-like, and Aries are becoming more Libra-like. Something we've been talking amongst our peers and in our behind the scenes of Serious Story. Like, I think Libra and Aries are about to switch poles. With these poles are both to switch sides, so to speak. Now, what this comes down to is your I is all in relationships. So in relationships, Libras have come to the relationship saying I. And that's because they have not defended the we in their ego. They've not treated themselves the way they deserve. And so they come into the relationship with this I premise about them. I know your higher goal is we. In fact, you're the most Libras have the best potential for we. The truth is how the hell are we going to enter into the sovereign era if you are not being fair to yourself to begin with? And how are you going to be able to negotiate in your brilliant way, which Libras are crazy brilliant? It strikes me how brilliant you are. It stands on nothing if you haven't treated yourself first, beginning like the right way. So you change the relationship to we. And ironically, the we in your relationship is not including them. It's including yourself in that moment in the smallest areas. Okay, enough for Libras. Scorpios! Scorpio! Do it again. Now, Scorpio, you are becoming someone else in the world now. And it's a complicated story, but Virgo for you is who you become in the world. The reason why you haven't become in the world who you want to become in the world is because you thought you needed the world's permission. You thought you needed the world to sign off on it. You thought you needed the world's support. Why do you feel you need the world's support to be who you are in the world? Because you were damaged with your inner child relationship and you did not know that you can love yourself independently and just be okay. So, the Pisces rule, which we haven't gotten into, is, you have to be in love with yourself, in love with your inner child for you to become who you're meant to become in the world. If you are expecting the world to officially say, yes, you are this, yes, I recognize your fluidity, I recognize this about you. If you expect the world to recognize you, you just gave your power to the world. You just said, oh, I can't be who I am. I need your signature. I need the government to pass these laws. I need this to happen for me to be who I am. If you say you need the world to acknowledge it, you're not in your power, because that's how creation works. Your power is in your heart. So the new Scorpio says, I am, period. Move around me. And that forces the world to move around you. Now, with Pluto at 29 Capricorn, the way this trines in is actually at 3, you cannot change your attitude about life and have real power in life. So the planets are saying Scorpios, it's their attitude. It's your mind's preset disposition, your pre-foregone conclusions that you made, your inability or lack of desire to negotiate the way you think about it in that final hour. Scorpios come to the table like decided. There's no negotiation with most Scorpios. It's like, this is it, period. Or I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that. So quite often Scorpios will say, it's either my way or I'm leaving, or I'm giving you some sort of ultimatum, some sort of drawing the line. It's this way or. And it's like, that's a 2 options street. That's not going to work in a 5D world. So the reason why your attitude, in my opinion, is so fixed is because you've got it backwards. You're thinking that who you become in the world, you will not become who you are in the world unless you have this attitude, right? But the truth of the matter is the attitude itself turns into who you become in the world. I hope that makes sense. So Scorpios will have a big attitude adjustment in different areas of their life. I'm not saying it's all with everyone. When I'm being critical here, it's only one part of yourself. We're not talking about your whole being. We're talking about finessing one part of you. So if you end up becoming who you are in the world, period, okay, which is I love myself and love myself some more, then your attitude will adjust, and the right attitude will bring even more flexibility and less friction. Now, that said, with the sun in Libra, what's changing is your faith, okay? And this is a big one for Scorpios. I got to tell my Scorpio friends, quite often you approach me already afraid it will go the wrong way. Quite often Scorpios are like, I don't want to go the wrong way. I don't want to turn out the way I don't want. I don't want this to happen. I don't want that to happen. You mean to tell me you have no faith that you're going to get the outcome that you desire? That's what you're telling me. You're telling me that unless you do this, you're not going to get what you want. Unless you do this in the outer world, you're not going to do this you want. That tells me that you don't have a fair relationship with God. You don't know that you're going to be received like everyone else on the planet. So the Libra mirage is Scorpios have to come to the table faithful that one way or another, God is going to give them everything they want. And so when you come to the table knowing that you're going to get everything you want, suddenly the negotiation is so intense. Suddenly there aren't ultimatums. Suddenly there aren't, stands, standing your ground. Because frankly, you're standing your ground without God behind you. That's why you're overstanding quite often. And God is behind you. You're just not recognizing it in the we. So for Scorpios, the we is me and God, ... Okay, me and the universe, ... We, me and the universe are already together on this. Are you going to be a part of it or not a part of it? Comes the conversation. Now, what this changes into the I for you is your daily life. Okay, this story of and I hear this in Scorpios all the time. I was born in struggle. I was born sick. I. And yes, that was true, and that's how you manifested. But in the moment, it's been sort of I for Scorpios, and very rarely we or us or we need to kind of thing. And that's because in most cases, Scorpios have determined that it's them against the world. So they've come with that perspective already. And that reflection of them against the world comes from the fact that they don't feel legitimately that God is behind them. And so when they come on the earth, they come on the earth as if they have no help, as if they're isolated. And so the way you are in the present can be somewhat uncomfortable to be around, because you're presenting in the present this us or them kind of totality. You're presenting you're willing to fight no matter what it takes. That's sexy and all, but at the end of the day, that doesn't unify, right? So you're going to become much more of a we in the I if you realize that God's on your side and you incorporate that into whatever you do. And so we're going to see Scorpios really changing their role in the world here in the next 30 days. I think that was from my Scorpio brother. That's funny. All right, so really how you live in the moment is going to change when you incorporate that it is we, you, and the universe that's speaking. Sagittarius! Fabulous Sagittarius. Oh my God. Sagittarius, you must become your legacy. So you must become your legacy now. Where I see Sagittarius is messing up on this is that it's all future tense. One day I will be, a singer. One day I'll be a this. One day I'll be a that. If it's one day, it'll always be one day. If you approach today as one day, tomorrow's one day. If you approach today as I want, tomorrow you get I want. All you get is what you are. So if you are always in the wanting and always in the one day, then you will manifest the one day and the wanting in the future. So Sagittarius must become their future now. They must become everything they are now, everything they tend to be now. Whether or not we see it on stage is a moot point. Whether or not we see it on stage is a first house thing, not a 10th house thing. You guys don't know how much I have going on in the 10th house. You guys have no idea what I'm about to roll out in the next 6 months with serious joy. No idea. And that's because I separate my 10th from my first. It may be working here. I'm already, in my opinion, the new sensei. I'm only rolling out piece by piece the new sensei because I'm rolling it out in pieces that the universe is capable of handling in any given moment. I don't want to overwhelm. I mean, if I release all my change at once, y'all will just be in, sickness of just stuck in the seat. So the way we roll out and manifest its first house and second house does not necessarily mean what we are becoming, that we are not becoming our legacy now. So you must become your legacy now. That means how you operate inside yourself, how you make decisions, everything must be your legacy now. Now, what this does is with Pluto and the second house, becoming your legacy now will transform your financials and your ability for abundance. The reason why you're not getting the money you want entirely is because you're not becoming the future now. And so as a result, you're not making the future now. You're making the past. You're in the struggle to become, one day versus the struggle of I am or the ease of I am. So, the pay grade of Sagittarius is that whether or not they will get paid with their worth is directly proportionate to how much you become your future now and declare it as now work in progress versus one day I'll get there. It's a different shift. Now, that said, the sun in Libra has to be with who you are in the world. And this is huge because Sagittariuses really don't consider the I most of the time when they're in the world. Like when they're off in the world, they're like little butterflies. They like zip around the room. You can watch them. I brought Sagittarius as a date quite often to a party or something. Of course, that person will stand by my side. She'll stand by my side for like 2 minutes and then boom, she's off. And that's it. She's off and she's like, and I can see her twinkling around and she's like, making friends with everybody and like collecting phone numbers. And it's not till the end of the night that I get my date back. Okay. Like they just go off. That's the way it works. So it's kind of lonely with a Sag when you're dating them. Sometimes I'm just saying. But the interesting thing is like they're off including everyone. They're off inclusive, like being considerate of everyone. It's so beautiful that you do that. But I see you forget your heart's desires. I see you say, well, what I want doesn't matter. I see that all the time with Sages and it breaks my heart. And so now the new Sag, more emotion, the new Sag is that in that context of who you are in the world, you're including your inner child. You're including your heart in that moment. You're not discluding your heart. Now, the North Node in Aries says it's time to go after your heart. And the Sun in Libra says by including it in every moment, by including in every negotiation, by including in every expression of who you are. You're not here to be nameless. You're not here to be invisible. You're not at all. You're here to fit in perfectly, and you do most of the time, but you end up disappointed most of the time. I've seen because you weren't representing your heart at the time of the negotiation, and so there it is. Now, the important part here is that as you move into Libra, you consider your heart in all negotiations, and then what happens is your heart, the fifth house, you get to have my. So for you, it's more like a my than an I. My life, my heart, my kids, my love of my life. That all rises to a new occasion because a lot of the love, I've noticed Sagittariuses have put off love a lot because they're trying to get their house in order. They're trying to get their society in order and all these other things in order. And so they quite often sacrifice their heart and they don't make their heart number one. The successful Sagittariuses must make their heart number one. You out of no people know how to do it without hurting someone else better than anyone. You're one of the best to get what you want. And so you want to do that paradoxical to get what you want. And in your own relationship and your own joy in your life is going to increase. Okay. Capricorns. Oh, how about that, storyteller? You're just in time. Capricorns. Capricorns, you must become your life's purpose. You must become your life's purpose. The crazy thing here with Capricorns is, they're on their life's purpose after the sale, after this, after that. It's always procrastinated. It's like, until I make this much money, I can't become this. And until I raise this much funding, I can't become this. Until I prove to so-and-so, I can't become this. So you refuse to become your life purpose until you've met certain financial, physical, material, outside yourself means. That's not going to work anymore. In fact, if you don't become your purpose right now, which means if I come across you on a road in a desert and we pass each other, if you're not acting like the successful business person, then even though you have nothing, you're a vagabond. If you don't come across as the successful person in that moment, then you aren't going to come across as a character, Pluto in the Capricorn, that I feel I can invest in. So because you are not living the dream, we're not investing in your dreams. Understand? Not getting investors, you're not living it. Well, but I am. Well, I'm not feeling it. So, we have to feel that you have become your dream. You have become your mission. You eat and sleep your mission. That gives you the best character to negotiate whatever you are, what you want, and those types of things. And it really is the final touch on your ego and your polishing. Now, that said, the Sun in Libra means that as we move into career legacy, that that you must be consider everything, including yourself and your emotions, in all decisions. I think the biggest issue for Capricorns is you don't consider the emotional consequence of your decisions. Over and over, I see your desire to be on top of the mountain more important than how bad your feet are going to hurt, how you're going to freeze to death in the upper echelon, how it's not going to feel good to do it. You don't consider your feelings. And so what happens is Capricorns will like do all this ambition without considering their feelings. And then they come home depleted and then usually put all that emotional need onto their partnerships and family. So they kind of become the abusive parent at home or the shifty wife or husband because they have already neglected their feelings the whole day at work. And now they expect their family to pay the price or their wife to pay the price, their husband to pay the price. Just saying, I've been married to you. I have great evidence here. Okay. I've been watching. I'm on to you. I also have a solar eclipse in Capricorn, so I'm talking to myself right here. I got my old attitudes from when I was Capricorn. I was a Capricorn when I was a king. When I was a king, I was a Capricorn. So I get it. I understand completely, but I also was a lonely king, and didn't always have the consent of my family. So you must become, in essence, your life purpose, which then allows you to become the character you're meant to be, which then allows you to make choices based on yourself and include your own feelings in the equation, which allows you to be a strong I at home, not an I that's taking from others. Aquarius. Bum, 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 bum. Aquarius. All right, this is a challenging one. So you must become, let me just say this to Aquarius, and I mean this really, let's get close here. You must become ever changing, okay? Aquas have been reluctant to change. I don't know why. You tell me. But you are not only need to change, you need to always change. You need to always be changing for the rest of your life. A healthy Aquarius is always changing for the rest of their life. If you're not changing, constantly changing, then you're not the dynamo of Aquarius. You're not the dynamo of frequency. If you can't turn an A note to a C note back to a B, you're not very flexible. You're not going to be very magical. So you must adopt never-ending and constant change. Never-ending and constant change, which I think is a Tony Robbins saying, which I'll give credit to, of course. And this never-ending and constant change is necessary for you to have faith. The reason why you don't have faith is you keep expecting God to have a constant. The only thing God has as a constant is creation. Constant as a creation means you're constantly changing. So Aquarius have wanted a constant, like this is how it is, Capricorn the 12th. It's these rules. No, it's these rules in your incarnation. And the other people's incarnation is those rules. So you will become much more faithful when you realize God actually supports change more than constant. In fact, nothing's going to remain constant. Something lying still is going to die. Something lying still is going to get sick. Still water breeds bacteria. I can go on and on. How stillness has nothing to do with life. The universe is expanding at an ever-increasing rate. So if you are expanding at an ever-increasing rate, you are in your power, friend, and you're going to do really well in the new era. Now, that said, as the sun goes into Libra, this is very important. And I don't see this at all. I have to say, I give Aquarius a D- on this one. D-, honestly. I'll give you a D. I'll be fair. But the point is that you do not include something when it comes to believing in yourself. A lot of times I see Aquariuses believe in themselves because it's different than society, not inclusive. So they say, I believe in myself because I'm different. Well, you remove yourself from society, you're not going to have any effect in society or your world because you're immediately saying you're not them. And then you're asking us to believe in you when you say you're not them. I'm not buying that. Sorry. If your belief about you doesn't include me, then you're in your own world as far as I'm concerned. You're not a part of mine because you haven't included me in that equation. And you haven't included the fact that I have a different opinion and that the universe is designed to allow all of us to express all of our varieties of colors. Ironically, you're the one proponent for individual. Ironically, you are the agent of the sovereign revolution. You are the hero of the sovereign revolution, but you yourself have been operating actually sovereign and not including the other belief structures all this time in most cases. I see some Aquariuses who, do include, but then exclude their belief. So you must have a balance between what you believe and what they believe. So your balance is what they and you believe. There must be a harmony. There must be an understanding of how you believe everything perfectly, and that doesn't mean I'm wrong. Okay, a lot of Aquariuses say, you're wrong, I'm right. That's divisive. We're both right. Until you find a context where we're both right and we're both wrong, you're not an age of Aquarius Aquarius, you're an age of Pisces Aquarius. Now, having that universal fair view of both you and the belief structure then allows you to find the right voice with yourself, Aries, and to identify the right voice in your communication. I find that a lot of Aquarius communication is disruptive. It is, I'm right, you're wrong. And there's no discussion about it. And it's just like, how can someone be wrong in the world of creation? How can someone be wrong? And why are you necessarily wrong because I disagree with you? Why would you call yourself wrong if I don't disagree with you? So Aquariuses are still hung up in their ego around attitude and opinion and ideas. They're still thinking it's right or wrong. They're both right. If we're in creation and I paint a picture of a dog and you paint a picture of a cat, why is my picture that I paint in creation better or not as good as your picture? That us them mentality of I have the better idea is not correct. It's not the new era. So I think what's going to happen with Aquarius is you have to come from this place where, yes, everything I believe is true and everything you believe is true in your concept, in your world. And that's okay. I'll live in my world, you live in yours. And I think that's where the healthy boundary is. The other aspect is no one's going to listen to you in the age of Aquarius and all your views if you come from the perspective that you know everything. That's just, I'm not listening to you. Right off the bat, I'm like, I don't believe in that premise. Okay. So I think that there's a basic fundamental belief structure premise with Aquarius is that needs to change if you want to really make change in the world. I'll tell you, most of the time I hear ideas from Aquarius, and it's like, I love them. They're brilliant. They're genius. They're crazy. But you're coming at it from the perspective of and I don't. And so right away I shut down like, oh, if you know everything and I'm not including the conversation, then why am I even here? Right? Like, why am I creating with you, painting my dog picture while you're painting your cat? So I think that they need to remove the ego from their communication, Aquarius and Aquarius risings too, because it's because you actually have insecurity about what you believe in yourself about. You have insecurity that you believe something the world doesn't agree with, and you see that as a defensive posture, and you don't realize that as a benefit that you actually have the ability to think outside society, which makes you more qualified for anyone to become sovereign because you have the power to think outside society. That's awesome. Unfortunately, you keep putting it on me as me being the dumb one. And then the Pisces. Pisces, you are, first and foremost, you must become the best version of yourself in all relationships. You must become the best version of yourself in all relationships, okay? The best version of yourself. That means you play it by the relationship, you play it by the moment. If you become the best version of yourself in all relationships, then you will stand in your world power, your role in the world with Pluto at 29 Capricorn. If you do not become your best in all your relationships, you will not stand in your power. People will see you as a threat and they will lock you out of certain situations. Now, there's no way we're going to graduate the age of Pisces without the Pisces. We can't figure out the Christ consciousness message. We can't incorporate consciousness of Christ into our life if you Pisces, the representative and holders of Christ consciousness, are constantly fumbling the ball in your relationships to the rest of people. You've got to master this, and you've got to master it now, okay? And you're out of time, out of time. Now, the sun in Libra means that, where I actually said this before wrongly on the client, is that you have to become fair in your boundaries with others. And I put this on Cancers, but I meant emotion. That means that you have to, actually, I think with Pisces, I gotta be honest, I don't think you consider others in most of your boundaries with yourself. I think that you're only considering yourself. And I think that's because you already overgave. And so by the time you're drawing the line, you're like pulling back to compensate. And so you're like that fish, you just like flip back and forth, like super, super selfish and then, or selfless, give, give, give. And then you go flip to selfish and shut everybody out or shut parts of yourself out. So you must be, with every decision and boundary with yourself, you must be at peace and you must be in harmony. So if you say to yourself, I'm only going to drink on Fridays instead of 5 days a week. Okay. Are you at peace with yourself? Does that feel equal with you? Then we go, but shouldn't it be 1 day a week or none at all? No, it's your reality. It's whatever you want. It doesn't matter. There's no rules of mankind that apply to anybody, really. It's between you and God. So if you think that a balanced life for you is drinking every night of the week before bed and you feel at peace with that, that's what it is. Now, I don't think it'll stay that way. I think it'll modify over time. I think a lot of it's that you're fighting for the control or the right within yourself. I think a lot of Pisces gave their power up in past lives to religions and things like that. And so you're actually literally trying to claim your power back from yourself. You let the priest, you let the priestess, you let the other people take advantage of you. And that's because you didn't have a solid boundary with yourself, because you didn't know where the line was fair with yourself, or the fair line with yourself went against what society was saying. The point is when you find an equanimity with yourself, when you're balanced with yourself, okay, then you can earn the money you deserve. So what the astrology says is Libra, Pisces, unequal, unbalanced boundaries with themselves leads to poverty, leads to debt, leads to inability to manifest. You can't confidently say I am, let's manifest it, when you can't say the I am very strong, because the I is really in this sort of paradox of not really being solid with the boundary with yourself. So in other words, when Pisces draw a strong boundary with themselves, they will actually have money and capital power in the world. A strong boundary is not what appeases the world. It's not what appeases you. It's the boundary that is fair and equitable to you, period, with you. So when you're fair with you and your lines with you, you can manifest. When you're unfair with yourself and your lines with yourself, you will not manifest. All right. That was a passion from somewhere. So now we would normally go to our Astro Mingle, but instead we're actually going to talk about our final wrap up here for the show. Thank you, everyone, for being flexible with us. I really appreciate it. We're in flux. We're going to be changing. I did see some options for Sunday night for the show. I'll tell you right now, I'm probably going to err against that. I'll talk to my staff. We'll look at it. But Sunday night I'm just giving up a lot. It's not fair to me to give up my Friday nights and my Sunday nights. It pretty much means I can't go away for weekends. I can't do anything for a weekend. And I'm not I'm not willing to sacrifice that much of my life, to be honest. My mission is different now. I have other agendas too. And of course, I'll be training people and helping people to follow my footsteps, but you won't see the new sensei sacrificing so much anymore. That's just part of my new design. So we're going to have to find something equitable. Think about where you would really like Namaste Today to be, how it will set you up for success, where we can come together as a community every week and realize that it's going to be a little different than it has been in the past. Namaste Today is going to reinvent itself entirely. So you're about to see my original vision for the show. I'm finally in a place where I can create. I have the resources to give you what I envisioned way back 18 years ago when I started this journey in 2006 as the first astrologer on YouTube. I just keep claiming that one. I was the first. And that's just my ego wanting to be first. Sometimes I want to be first. Obviously, even though I've been first doesn't mean I've been best. There are people who have more following and more whatever. So it's not really a contest. It's a race with myself. Just for the record, I'm always racing myself. But we'll talk about that. But let's say a few things. First of all, LOL, leading out loud. Did you happen to miss it this week? We did an amazing episode on the history of the Earth, the true history of the Earth. I am loving this team. I'm loving our conversations. This is sort of like our view, the view. Only the 4 people at the table are in their hearts. Say that. So you have 4 people in their hearts versus 4 people in their bitterness, all talking about topics. But last week we talked about our history of the Earth. This week, we're going to have on psychic modalities on Thursday. So I'm just separating in case you missed one. This week will be psychic modalities on Thursday. But if you missed it, go back and watch it. We did the history of the Earth. By the way, the time for Leading Out Loud is Thursdays. It's a daytime talk show at 1 p.m. 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. Okay. Now, also free to the public, our daily download with Heather Exposito. We've been talking about this, so you can come to the site and she will give you a free 2 to 3 minute quick download of the day. Now, I don't know how this sounds when you hear it, but she's amazing. She simplifies things and she puts it into a quick perspective. So this is sort of like getting your like in 3 minutes, like a weather traffic forecast. If you're in the, just to know what's the astrological traffic going on. It's free to all people in the world. It's the beginning of our outreach to humanity in a free way at SiriusJoy.com. And we'd love to have you there and let Heather know how she's doing. Our Town Hall TV shows this week in Sirius Joy subscribers, we're doing the mega monthly Golden Address with yours truly. Goes live this Wednesday. This will go live at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, where I will go through all the major events of Libra and I will talk about the month of October, but I'll mostly focus on Libra because I've changed my mega monthlies. By the way, the individual mega monthlies should be live by tomorrow morning to my own subscribers. I am still remodeling my production process, so they probably won't live till tomorrow, which will be step 0, step 1 Libra, but they are in concert. They're moving forward. Again, there are so many features to subscribing to SeriousJoy.com. And I'm going to say, as a new person, if you have the money and you're not actually supporting us and helping us, I got to tell you, my heart is not so happy about the relationship because it feels one-sided. And so I'm going to start calling people on. It's like, hey, I got 18 years in the can of giving away for free. What have you done for me in this week? It feels like all I, and the I is you. So I'm going to be kind of strict about this at this point. It's like, I gave you guys 18 years to kind of get it for free. And if you're watching this show for free for 18 years and you haven't ever donated or given some money, I imagine you have issues everywhere in your life because you're not giving back in return. So I'm not going to be a jerk about it, but I'm going to be very firm about it. And then, of course, our mega monthlies, the individuals come out in the next 24 hours. And I'll just tell you I'm not going to tell you the theme yet. I'm going to leave it for next week. Now, sharing is caring. The happiest thing you can do for us, if you're still in the waiting period or having abundance issues, is to share us with your friends and family. We love that you share. We have the horoscopes that come out right now on Tuesdays. I'm not sure how it's going to work in the future. And just sharing our name, sharing what we do, sharing other practitioners. It's time to come together in a stronger community of light, and we appreciate that. You can also rub elbows with us on our Facebook club, SeriousJoy.club. This is where you can come and you can talk about current events of the day. You can talk about what you're needing, how you're needing specialists. We do allow our Serious Joy Club subscribers to advertise their own spiritual businesses in the club. If you come in the club and you say, hey, message me for a free reading, you're going to get booted right away because we know that scam. We've seen it before. So don't scam us. We are way on top of it. We got knights around the world who are going to boot you out. I'm kind of in this like no more bullshit sort of point in my life where it's like, we gave you 18 years. That's good enough. You like to learn. If you don't know it, that's fine. So we love to have you in the club. And I'll tell you right now, as things unfold, as far as like, let's say tomorrow, Biden takes us to war or something happens or something big. We're going to start talking about the Facebook club. We're going to start bringing our opinions there and that sort of thing. Although we are going to create a nuance that's come up today. If you want to follow me on any social network platform, go to seriousjoy.social. You'll see you'll see links to how we post our stuff on Twitter. We post our stuff on Pinterest. We post on Pinterest. You know that? We post on Pinterest. We post everywhere. We don't care where you live. We'll come to you. We're like a delivery service of light. So give us come to the social, see where else we post. Let us come to your neck of the woods. And for our podcast, we do have a podcast that's audio instead of visual. So if you want to hear us instead of watch, we are on Spotify, Stitcher, and Apple Podcasts. I want to say special thanks, especially this week, to my team who turned on a dime incredibly and did so much for us to help us make this happen. Special thanks to our producer, Diane DeStefano. Special thanks to graphics and casting and chat moderation, Nita Kay. Special guest to our corporate liaison, Bergie D. Anderson. And also, of course, our director behind the scenes here is rolling with my punches, Adam Turner. Our teaching staff at Serious Joy, the best teaching staff in the world, Robbie Hunt, our lead astrologer, Kristen Ryder, Devin Doer, Joe Zammett, who is moving to a new position to be announced, Gwen English, who's coming online. You can't wait to see her work. Ducky Okamoto is doing some great stuff. And, of course, our recent burst out of Heather Exposito. Special thanks to our super friends, particularly the ones I saw today and follow us to Sunday. Thank you, Sydney. Thank you, Coffee Bean. Thank you, Jill Louise. Thank you, Margot. I saw you. Thank you, Lori. I think I saw Nikki Anderson. I didn't see Libra and Lauren. Thank you, Experimental. I saw you. Erica, thank you. Michelle Camper, Michelle Bell, thank you, thank you. Kat Ryder. My soul brother, Daryl Brinkenship. Reach out to me, Daryl. I got stuff to do with you, dude. Neptune Girl, thank you. I saw you. Jamar, didn't see you. Haven't seen you in a while, Jamar. Just saying. Might be taken off this list just because I don't want to be one-sided. Christine Kelly, thank you. Sydney, we saw you there. And Iggy and Nitu, we saw you too. Appreciate you. All right, friends, that's all we have for this weird addendum version of Namaste Today Live. We'll be moving the show and its title in the future, probably around, I don't know, maybe Scorpios when it'll actually happen. But keep showing up on Friday nights until I tell you when the new time is. Until then, despite my irreverent attitude for no bullshit anymore, I do love you. And to live, love, be.
It's serious.